I'm so glad you came up because most people don't know, unfortunately, that you could convert to Judaism. I think that many Jews hide that fact, mainly because of Zionism. They have politicized the religion because of Zionism, and they feel, or to make some sort of indigenous claim, they teach that in order to be Jewish, you have to claim to have some sort of Jewish blood, which is inaccurate. It's true. If your mother is Jewish, you are legally Jewish. You're halakhically Jewish. However, if you convert to Judaism, you're just as Jewish. So I'm here to tell people the obvious that Judaism does accept converts. And if there's a Muslim out there or a Christian that's not happy with his or her belief system, they may want to consider Judaism.
See.
Yeah. But it's true. There's a lot of misinformation, and there's many Jewish people who essentially lie in this area by omission. They just stay quiet when a Muslim makes the claim that the Torah is only for Jews. It's not true. The Torah is for whoever wants it. And it was like that from its inception. On Mount Sinai, there stood a mixed multitude of peoples alongside Hebrews, and they all became Israel, telling us that Israel is ultimately a philosophy.
What do you mean? It's not like a country?
Oh, forget about the country. I mean, the country is a secular entity. It has nothing to do with the Bible or religious people. There are religious people in the state of Israel, but Israel, meaning the descendants, both physical and spiritual descendants of Jacob, that made a covenant with God, that for the most part we can call a philosophy.
Oh, I see. So do you think the Old Testament could be a parable at times?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's many rabbis who teach that the book of Job, for example, was a parable. Didn't really happen. It's there to teach us a lesson. I believe the Jewish Bible is there to give us individual moral training.
Like, do you think Adam and Eve is the same thing as Job?
No. Adam and Eve and Job? No.
Like, do you think that God just gave the story of Adam and Eve just for the same reason he gave the story of Job?
Oh, I haven't thought about that. I mean, one is trying to depict the creation of the world, right? Or at least what happens immediately after it. And Job, I don't really understand the story of Job. Ethically, I don't understand it. The idea that God gambles with people's livelihood doesn't sit well with me. I'm just trying to be honest.
Maybe it's just trying to say like why bad things happen.
Yeah, but I don't think that's a good explanation, at least from a Torah perspective, on what bad things happen. This is why I think there are many rabbis who teach that didn't really happen. It's just a parable. We don't even know where to properly place the book of Job. We don't know who Job is. We don't know if he's an Israelite, if he existed before. We don't know a lot for people to be including it as the word of God. I don't view it as the word of God. I only view the Torah as the word of God. I believe all these other books were sanctioned by the court, by the rabbis, to bring you closer to the word of God. That I could acknowledge. When I see Christians and even Muslims not making a distinction between these books, I don't know enough about Muslims or how they feel about the book of Job, but there are many Jews and Christians that make no distinction between the book of Job and the book of Exodus. That's that's a big problem.
I have a Bible. I read it before. I mean, I don't have anything to complain about it. I just feel like it could have been corrupted at some point.
Oh, I think that's somewhat secondary. What makes the Bible special is the commandments within it, at least in what we call the Torah. And those have been proven to work. To work in the sense that we can pay tribute to where essentially our values come from, that has made the West so sophisticated and ethically, and that's primarily the Torah. Even though I can articulate from an ethical perspective every commandment in the Torah, the bulk of what's there makes things better. And this is why I believe in God, and this is why I believe the Torah was given to us by God.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on Jesus? Do you think he was just a man? Do you think he was a prophet?
I think for the most part, Jesus was a good guy. I don't think he's God. I don't think he's the Messiah, but he was clearly trying to do the right thing. He was calling out hypocrisy. And I ultimately believe that his ideas were twisted, and they made him into some sort of man god. And I don't personally believe that he would have endorsed that.
Do you believe in the resurrection or dying on the cross?
No, I don't believe in that. I mean, I don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe in Jesus. But if there was a character named Jesus, at least how he in terms of the narrative, how the narrative describes him in the New Testament, he's for sure a good guy. I mean, he's not a wicked man.
So I agree. Because in Islam, we look at him as a prophet of God, which I'm trying to look at history of how they could have seen him as God. Because the Bible says that's what he claimed.
The Bible says that he claimed to be what? God?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't so explicit. He wasn't so explicit, yeah.
So that's what the Muslims and the Christians, that's where we have beef at, is who he was.
Yeah, I don't even think it's worth arguing. If people feel that he's a net gain religiously to the world, which he was, there's many rabbis who acknowledge that the existence of Jesus was like a net positive gain on this planet. That's good enough, for us not to want to bash him. Yeah, I mean, Christians, I think, add a lot of goodness to this planet. We have to be honest.
Because I know there's certain Jews and a lot of certain Muslims from really bad. There's really bad Muslims. I'll agree. There's really bad Muslim areas in the Middle East. I don't even call them true Muslims, but they'll actually kill people for saying that Jesus is a god.
Yeah, no, it's a problem. It's a problem. I think it's a bit trivial to argue over something, so silly. It's just, it's interesting. The Israelites that appeared in the Torah had a bigger task of trying to convert barbarians to some form of ethical monotheism. While nowadays, heck, we could even say that the early church fathers had as much of a challenge. And now, what do you have people arguing about on TikTok? On whether the Trinity is true, on whether God is, Jesus is God. And on that basis, I'm not saying that people can argue, but when they start being rude and insulting and, big divisions over nothing.
It's like that crusades on TikTok.
It's so silly. I mean, if people really want to walk in the footsteps of the prophets, go to India and preach to people who are worshiping monkeys and and try to get them to embrace some form of ethical monotheism, right? But they rather, I don't know, just argue on TikTok.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. Well, there's this whole TikTok debate thing that's actually kind of fun to join sometimes. I try to make peace in it.
Hi. Welcome, Ben.
Hey, thanks. I saw you one time in 770 a while ago. I don't know if you remember.
I was there probably
7 years ago. Long time ago.
Birthday? Was it the Rebbe's? Yeah, I think it was the Rebbe's birthday. It was right before Pesach. It was 2 days before Pesach. And I was there with my friend Aaron. Aaron, he's also a convert. Aaron Ben Avram.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting that you remember me. All right. So,
no, because I saw you. I said, I was like, I was kind of, I just saw you in the algorithm, just popped up. And I was like, you look familiar, like you're on YouTube or something. I'm like, this guy, looks famous, like a celebrity. And then, yeah.
Yeah, so that video is on YouTube, by the way, of me at 770. So maybe you come out in it. How can I share the video? Hold on, let me see.
Oh, I don't know, but I just was calling because, well, I don't know. My brother, he's been watching you. This is my brother, Doran. He's another guy. Or Doron. Yeah. So.
You live in Crown Heights?
No. I used to live in Crown Heights. I got married over there. Then I moved actually to Lauderhill, right by you.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, to the Chabad over there, 770, base Mashiach, And then,
Chabad.
And then I got out of there. And
Yeah.
like,
Well, I
there's
put
no
the link in
point.
the video up. There's a link in the chat, like in YouTube, like of me in 770. I think maybe 9 years ago. I mean, I re-uploaded the video because my channel was hacked, but it's from like 10 years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
but don't be fooled by my beard. Don't be like, oh, this guy.
Oh,
Like,
you mean like being
I'm learning more about the whole sugya, about the Zohar, Moses de Leon,
Oh no, don't do that.
Rambam.
I mean, do that, but be careful what you read.
No, I'm saying about the sugya, about that. There's very big questions about the authenticity. You know,
Okay. Never mind then. Never mind.
City of the Zohar.
like the Machan Shilo, like the Machan Shilo guy,
David Bar Chaim.
Bar Hayim. Yeah,
Yeah, so he doesn't speak out as much against Kabbalah as I wish he would, and I get it. Like he lives in Israel, and they can get pretty violent, like if you speak out against Kabbalah. There was a synagogue that was burned down, like a Dordai synagogue. Like Dordaim were initially the Yemenite Jews that didn't accept Kabbalah.
Well, it's kind of how do I say? It's like nonsense.
Kabbalah is not Kabbalah. It's not Kabbalah. It's not Divrei Kabbalah. It means the Tanakh and the Talmud. Everyone knows that.
Oh well, I mean Kabbalah just means transmission. So yeah, Kabbalah. That when someone's mekabel mitzvot, it means they're like accepting. It's like a transmission of mitzvot into their lives, or they're accepting it. But yeah, I'm not so much against it. Like I'm against people calling it authoritative and viewing it as anything else other than a set of like midrashim. That's it.
Well, I'm 100% against it because it harms you into thinking things that harms other people.
I mean, that does make sense. Not so much directly the Zohar, but when it's translated into modern terms in books like the Tanya or like Likutei Moran, that's when Kabbalah starts to become practical, especially like under the Arizal. So from that perspective, practical Kabbalah, Lurianic Kabbalah, I believe is harmful. And I mean, hashkafically harmful because it redefines the purpose of either becoming or remaining Jewish. It has nothing to do with, like keeping mitzvot and through that being like a mamlechet kohanim in front of the nations. But now it's to gather the sparks, like the netzitzot, and do tikkun, but like in a Kabbalistic sense. I mean, tikkun olam by Kabbalah is different than tikkun olam as trying to make the world a better place. I mean, the notion of tikkun for a Kabbalist is gathering sparks, even in evil areas like Shabtai Tzvi, like doing evil in order to gather more sparks. But anyways, yeah, it's problematic. For sure.
What would you say, Rabbi? Can I ask you a question? Are you on a particular topic now, or?
No, I'm not on a topic.
I wanted to ask. I'm kind of researching. What would you say about Sabbatean influence in the Alter Rebbe? Baal Tanya, whatever you want to call them.
Oh, I don't know. But they were both big on the Arizal. I mean, the Arizal. Right. If there is no Arizal, there's no Tanya. Okay. Right. The question is, how literally do you want to take the Arizal? So things that he says, some people say like you don't know what it means. That you have to be on a certain level to understand it. And they'll tell you that like, to learn with someone who knows, they can never point you to someone who knows. Because if you take the words of the Arizal literally, you end up looking silly and ridiculous.
The Kabbalah tradition for me, when you read it, it sounds like someone who makes things up, like things that don't make sense. For instance, like God has parts, but in Judaism, God is unified. So.
Yeah, no, I get it. No, the Sefirot are I think are philosophically problematic. Although I wouldn't consider them idolatrous, I just view them as very problematic. They're for sure the Trinity on steroids. So
yeah. And also like the concept of like a Jewish soul, it's a very how do I say, iffy. I prefer all people.
Hold on. I mean, I think it's I mean, you have like that background noise?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there you go. Oh, so much better. Yeah, no, yeah, this is what I do. I mean, I let people know about the destructive ideas of the Jewish soul. These things make people feel nice. All these embellishments on the Jewish people help other Jews feel good. The question is, what price is being paid? And there's always a price paid. That's the mature response to anything we do in life. What price is being paid? Saying that Jews have special souls is saying that if you're not Jewish, you don't have a special soul. That's essentially. Now, if you're saying what makes you Jewish is Torah observance, then that's fine. You're being distinguished by your actions. But if you're saying that you're born with a soul, then that's really the beginning of bigotry.
Yeah, it is. Feels very like racist, like
Yeah, for sure. And,
nonsense.
well, so they'll work around it, and they're like, well, only because we have more responsibility and we have more connections to God doesn't mean we're more superior. That sounds like superior to me.
Yeah, it does sound like superior to me.
But they're saying that it's inherent. It's part of their nature. They're born with this. If you have two babies placed on a table next to each other, one is Jewish, one is not. That Jewish baby is already on a higher level. That's problematic. And we have to be able to. But we should refine our theology.
Yeah, like a person who's kind and nice and good is supposed to be better than someone who's not, as opposed to like someone being born Jewish is better than someone just because he's Jewish. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Guys on TikTok, everyone on TikTok, like the TikTok, like, share, follow, and then the more you like your TikTok lives for people on YouTube that don't know what I'm talking about, the more views you get.
Oh yeah.
Shares, yeah. I mean, TikTok shares your live. So guys, tick the screen. What's mustache? Hello, Aphrodisius.
Oh wait, you want to switch to someone else talk, or you want me to keep talking?
No. Well, I mean, wait, hold on. Welcome, Lewis. Was there something you wanted to say?
Actually, I jumped in because I was listening to your conversation, and I've heard you, and I've talked with you a couple other times. Curious as I listen and hear you discuss this, how much of your perspective comes from your not having been born Jewish, but going through the conversion and then looking at things, so to speak, as an outsider, as opposed to having lived it your whole life?
Compared to what? I mean, compared to someone who was born Jewish but didn't have a Jewish education?
No. So I look at, basically one of your big ones is obviously conversion. And you, in general, differ with the vast majority of rabbis, not saying right and wrong here on that, observing. And asking you how much of this, and I've heard you on several other issues where you run in general contradiction to most other rabbis, but you always do cite where it comes from in the Talmud or somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying how much of your difference in view comes from the fact that you didn't grow up hearing what I'll call all the traditions and concepts, for lack of another term, continuously pounded into you, and now look at it from a different point of view.
So the bulk of the Orthodox world, I mean, outside of extremely religious communities, they're called Baal Teshuvas. That means they weren't raised Jewish either. They typically knew nothing about Judaism. Like my main yeshiva in Israel was Eshet Torah. So Eshet Torah and also Or Sameach, it's essentially all Baal Teshuvas, people who know nothing about Judaism. However, the bigger question is, I mean, I also I wasn't born religious because I was Christian before I converted to Judaism. So, I mean, I actually knew more about their religion than they did, but they happened to have like a Jewish sounding last name. So they were allowed to be, they were ushered in right away. So from that perspective, you have a Gentile who doesn't know anything about Judaism and someone who's born Jewish, ethnically Jewish, who knows nothing about Judaism. How can that Gentile come to the conclusion that this is could be beneficial for everybody, and the person born Jewish who also doesn't know anything about Judaism be told that no, it's only for Jews, and blood matters. So it probably has to do. You're right. It probably has to do with us having family that's not Jewish, because about tshuva will be told that it doesn't matter. Essentially, if you keep Torah, you are special to God all along. That's the Kabbalistic perspective, right? This is why they didn't have to convert. That's what they're told. So they're thinking like your mother, your grandmother, this and that. Yeah, well, they may have been atheists, but they're still special to God. While that would fall on deaf ears for a convert, because my mother's not Jewish, my sister's not Jewish. My uncles, my friends that I grew up with weren't Jewish. So from the beginning of our journey, me and a Baal Tshuva, let's say, someone who wasn't raised religiously Jewish but had a Jewish parent, we're being indoctrinated almost in the same way, but his indoctrination is actually sticking because he's thinking like, wait a minute, it's true. We're a special people. I was special even before I became Jewish. You had to convert, right? And I'm thinking, yeah, I had to convert. And I'm pretty sure every convert, if he's honest, if he or she is honest, every convert is pissed off when he is, sitting in a synagogue and someone accidentally counts him in a minyan, and then you have to tell him, no, I'm converting, this and that. But an Israeli could walk in with a cigarette on Shabbat and they give him an aliyah. Okay? Because anyone who reads the Torah straight through knows that even if you have a direct connection, like a direct pedigree to Abraham, if you violate certain commands, it says that you're cut off from your people. This special treatment could only really be tolerated by people who don't know what the Torah says, because the Torah doesn't elevate anyone because of blood. So, from that perspective, I felt in some way cheated, that people could just walk in not caring anything about Judaism, and at the same time, I had to have my family turn their back on me, friends turn their back on me because I became Jewish. I paid a bigger price. And then I felt like ultimately, there's nothing different between me and this person calling themselves Jewish. And I think this is probably my biggest service here on TikTok and on YouTube, that you have someone who's a convert willing to debate almost any rabbi and win, showing people that blood means nothing. Because they'll say it all the time. Oh, he's got a pintel yid, a Yiddish cup, a Yiddish neshama. That means he's like a special. Oh, you can tell he's Jewish, right? But I'll say, like, I have no Jewish blood. If I can do it, you can do it. There's no difference between a Jew and a Gentile, save Torah. That's it. If one keeps Torah, that's what makes him special. If one's distinguished, ethically by his or her actions, that's what makes him superior. So we got the same treatment because the average person who meets me, especially in Israel, will think I'm Israeli. I'm Colombian. I don't look like, yes, if you look Asian or black, you'll probably be singled out as a Gentile. But I always tell people from the beginning, to keep it real, was that I'm a convert. The thing is, when they told me this whole nonsense that Jews are special inherently, I didn't really pay attention to it because my family wasn't Jewish. However, if your family was Jewish, you're thinking like, we are a special people. In the beginning, my grandmother, I guess being Jewish is voting for Hillary Clinton and being a feminist and like all the things that comes with the ethnic Jewish people today. This Kabbalistic idea that even if you do good, you're good. If you do bad, you're good. Because the reason you do bad is because you have an extra Yetzer Hara, and it's all this nonsense. So I don't know if it had to do with me being born a Christian, but it did help knowing a lot of good people who were Christian. Who it's hard to believe when someone tells you that they're inherently irredeemable. And then someone, just because he happens to have a Jewish mother, but doesn't even believe in God and behaves more immorally than Christians, that person's automatically ushered in and special to God. So, yes, initially, you can't have a broken moral compass. Meaning, if you come to Judaism like a complete, dry sponge, ethically, then you're going to be easily indoctrinated. If you come in already searching for truth with an intact moral compass, which is what I had, by the way, because I tell people to start counting how long they were religious from when they joined their first ethical religion. So if you converted to Judaism last year, but you've been a religious Christian for 20 years, then you've been religious for 21 years.
Robert.
Yeah.
Can you hear me right?
Yeah, go ahead.
So let me just question about what you said. Mechalel Shabbos, like smoking on Shabbos, being counted on a minyan. Does that really happen? I've heard Rabbi Mizrahi saying that Mechalel Shabbat Hareu Kegoy Lechol Davar, he's not supposed to be counted on a minyan. So the
rare. I mean, it's rare that people hold like that. You know, okay, the Rabbi Mizrahi is considered strict. Your average Chabad house, if they didn't count people like who were Mechalel Shabbat in the minyan, they wouldn't have a minyan. Well, let's be honest. Like most places outside of Crown Heights or very firm areas, the parking lot is full, and it's not that they leave their car and then after Havdalah they leave. They go in when they come back. Let's be honest. I'm not saying most shuls. Well, no, I am saying most shuls. Most shuls.
But just, I mean, is that a reality in only modern Orthodox shuls or in Haredi also? Because it's very strange.
Yeah. So the Rabbi Mizrahi is Haredi. Like it's not the same in the Haredi synagogues. Although in Haredi synagogues they wouldn't tell them anything either. Like in Haredi synagogues, like when there's like a bar mitzvah, it's still packed. The parking lot is packed when people drive there, and no one says anything. And not just that, the aliyahs, like in the big shuls, like for the bar mitzvahs, are typically for the family members, and they're family members who drive there. The notion that people don't give people aliyahs like on Shabbos because they drive is extremely rare. I think it's been reinterpreted that if they park like a block away, then it's okay. It's them breaking Shabbos, what's called lefarhesia, like in your face. But if they do it secretly, then it's in some way allowed. Anyways, all I'm saying is that it's a huge double standard that we're going to say, I'm going to make this convert's life impossible, right? Because the convert can't date, for the 3 years that he's converting. There's no sympathy really thrown his way. But I mean, some unaffiliated, secular, irreligious Jew is given special treatment because his last name is Grossman. I think Chazal knew better when they made conversions take a few minutes instead of years. This idea that we know better, and yeah, okay, it makes sense. We don't want anyone to be just let in. But if you could be born kosher, which is essentially what Kabbalah teaches, not that you're just born Jewish, they teach that you're born kosher. You could be born halakhically Jewish, and I mean, alpi halacha, you're kagoy. Okay. However, they're saying that you're halakhically born kosher. They'll give you an aliyah. They say you have a Jewish soul. They say that you're head and shoulders above every non-Jew. That you actually have a soul connected to God. At your birth. That is really the roots of bigotry.
I mean, I've questioned that because I've heard Rabbi Mizrahi telling the story of when his father was about to die. The last months he was sick and he couldn't go to the shul. So when he died, they wouldn't bury him in the Jewish cemetery because they thought that he wasn't Shomer Shabbos. So I thought they were very strict on these things, like counting on a minion or like
they're not strict.
Burying.
Unfortunately, I don't even believe that story, by the way. But that it's true. Alpi halacha, the notion of a Jewish cemetery doesn't mean that only because you're Jewish you're allowed to be buried there. It comes from a pasuk in Tehillim that God shouldn't bury the righteous alongside the wicked. So the halakha is that Torah-keeping Jews had their own, kever, essentially, right? They should have their own separate graves. The notion of kivrei tzadikim doesn't mean that they're gedolim buried there. It means that it's the kavarim of people who keep Shabbos. Now, then later on, everybody wanted to be buried close to their Rav, close to their Rebbe, fine. Okay, but nowadays, the only prerequisite to be buried in a Jewish cemetery is having a Jewish mother. That's against halakha. In the old days, they would share graves. Like one section would be the Orthodox grave. I remember in Virginia, there was a section in the Jewish cemetery called the worker circle, meaning the Jewish communists had their own graves, separate from people who were religious. But nowadays, it's all the same. So there's no notion of a Jewish cemetery. It's only a kosher Torah-keeping cemetery. That's the halakha. So the idea that you can't bury a non-Jew in a Jewish cemetery is true, but you can't bury a secular Jew in a Jewish cemetery according to halakha. But people ignore that completely nowadays.
I mean, I wonder about that because you always say that like the way you would like approve, I'd say, is the modern Orthodox like line instead of Haredim. But I don't know if I got it wrong, but it seems that all these problems is like on the modern Orthodox line. Like, am I wrong about that? Like all these concepts, like not following strictly some actual laws that there is out there.
So that's not how I define modern orthodoxy, but yes, I mean it would be with
No,
people.
I know.
Yeah,
I know
but
that modern Orthodox should follow the halacha as it appear, but I mean, as it practice, they seems to forget sometimes.
yeah, no. So that's true. Like when people try to be more accommodating, let's see, the problem with modern Orthodox synagogues is that they have a board. And I was the assistant rabbi of Young Israel of Richmond, and I had to deal with the board. Meaning, there's a bunch of people who are typically not religious. I think now, according to the OU, they all have to be. I mean, Shomer Shabbos, but I'm pretty sure that if they weren't, I mean, no one would snitch on them. You have a board of people who essentially are not that religious, who hire the rabbi, hire and fire the rabbi. So
The Gabbai, right?
no, what do you mean? I mean, the gabbai is the assistant to the rabbi. I mean,
I don't know. I just always
Yeah, but
heard
anyways.
it. I don't know what it is. Sorry.
so it means that the rabbi could never put anyone in the synagogue in their place religiously because he's scared of losing his job. Most rabbis, when they go to try out to see if that synagogue wants to hire them for a rabbi, you could you should see the butt kissing that goes on. They're like, wow, they walk in and they're like, look at all these holy people, da da da. They know the topics you're not allowed to speak on. They know who they're not allowed to correct, i.e., the people who have the money. When it's your responsibility to choose your own leaders, then by definition you're never going to improve. Now, this is the opposite in Chabad synagogues, by the way, which I admire Chabad for this. The head shaliach there, like the head Chabad rabbi, runs a show. Now, they may have some committee or something. But the rabbi runs a show and he's able to tell people to just leave, and he's able to, in some way, chastise the community when they're doing something they're not supposed to be doing. But when the board pays the rabbi's salary and the board hired the rabbi, that means the rabbi is a puppet to the board. So from that perspective, if you have irreligious people bossing the rabbis around, because I had a very good friend in North Miami Beach who lost his job because of this. He refused to give a kid an aliyah because his mother was a conservative convert. And I get it. I mean, I understand a conservative conversion is questionable for many reasons. It might be kosher, right? Anyways, because he refused to do it, they fired him because it was a friend of a wealthy donor. So, I mean, we go back to the golden rule that he who has the gold makes the rules. And that's typically how most synagogues run nowadays.
Yeah. So that's the issue. I think. Like, I agree with you about like the Haredim goes too much. Like things like we were talking yesterday about sending their women to work and they study all day long. But it seems like it's a tough decision because modern Orthodox, there is some issues in there, but Haredi also there is some issues there. And about that, I was asked yesterday. I was listening to the Rabbi Breitovitz, and he says that this thing of the guys studying all day is like a advice from the Hafetz Chaim post World War II, that they should like at least for 70 years be like more stringent on Talmud Torah, but I think that that expires and they still do it. And like, I mean, I respect a lot the Haredi, but it's very wrong this about like as you say, canceling their contract, marriage contract, like.
Right. So for those who are on TikTok or on YouTube who don't understand what we're talking about, he's talking about in the Litvish world. It's actually not done so much in the Hasidic world that men learn Torah all day and they send their wives to work, and the women essentially support the men. It's a very simpy thing to do. I mean, not just from a Torah, like a rabbinic perspective, but in reality. It wasn't a Hafetz Chaim because the Hafetz Chaim died before the end of World War II, or even, I mean, he died even before, I believe, the Shoah occurred. I can't say the word on TikTok.
I think it's the Chazon Ish. I always mixed up the two.
Oh, okay, so that's interesting. So the Chazon Ish did live in the 50s. I thought it was Rav Aaron Cutler, but Rav Aaron Cutler, I guess, became really prominent in the 60s. So it's either Rav Aaron Cutler or the Chazon Ish. Okay, so yes, that makes more sense. And their opinion was to, in some way, replenish Torah that was lost during World War II, that people should learn all day and send their wives to work. But it was only a litmus approach. And nowadays, Jerusalem in the morning, what do you see in the bus stops? You see women going to work and Arabs, by the way, because the guys are learning all day, which is kind of a joke, because Pirkei Avot actually tells you how a man should structure his life. And it says, if I'm not mistaken, it says either at 18 or 20, he has to go try to to find the trade for himself. And I mean, it breaks down. It never talks about learning for the sake of learning and sending your wives to work. Like Felipe said, you're nullifying your ketubah, because the ketubah means that you're providing for your wife. I mean, you're essentially nullifying the Torah, because there's 3 Torah things that a man has to provide for his wife, and 3 rabbinic things that a man has to provide for his wife. But from this perspective, the wife's providing everything because she's the one working. Not to mention that you're almost destined to have feminine boys and very masculine girls, because the last thing anyone in such a household is going to grow up with is a feminine mother. If a woman has to work all day and have kids nonstop like they do in the Haredi world, and on top of that cook for Shabbos, right? Trust me, I mean, that man has no control over his house, which is typically earned when a man provides for his woman.
So, Robert, you would say so that the Hasidic way is the perfect middle way, not too much to the left like the modern Orthodox practice, and not too much to the, not say the right, but the crazy side of the Litvaks. That you said about that the women in Israel are very masculine, but not the Haredi or Hasidic, they like feminine. So it would be the middle way.
I never said that Hasidic couples weren't masculine like the girls. I mean, no, it's true. Down Meir Sharim, you walk into Meir Sharim, yes, those girls, I don't see them as being very masculine, but they're in a bit of a bubble. At the same time, I don't see the men as very masculine either. I mean, Hasidic guys, you shake their hand, it looks like you're grabbing the paw of a kitten. Yes, it's true. Israeli women are extremely masculine. Extremely masculine. It's not even attractive anymore.
But I mean, the problem I have to think about is that I think the Hasidic approach would be the right one, like the middle way. But you said about not having yichus.
Hold on, only in this area. I mean, Hasidim.
No, I know, but it is what's matter, right? Like I know you just could tolerate their practice,
okay,
the customs.
Like from this perspective, I would agree more with modern Orthodoxy. Clearly, modern Orthodox Jews don't send their wives to work. I mean, they may be very modern and i.e. believe in a 2-income family, but most modern Orthodox Jews don't learn all day. That's a Litvish thing.
But it's not that. I think they don't. It's actually a question. Like, isn't that the rule mitzvah that I think that modern Orthodox don't take serious? Like they don't they mean to have many children to fulfill. I mean, I know there is 2 opinions, but the follow is to have a boy and a girl. But it's not only that; it's to be sure that they will have children also. So I think the right approach of the Haredim would be to have as many children as they can get, not to risk that their children would die eventually, and they will be at least have one boy and a girl with children in the future.
Okay.
I mean,
so this is your theory, by the way, because
but I think.
Wait, hold on. Well, so provu, the commandment we have to be fruitful and multiply. There aren't multiple opinions on how that's fulfilled. There's only one opinion. I think it's Hillel or Rabbi Kiva. He says the way you fulfill this halakha, I believe it's Hillel, is by having a boy and a girl. That's the accepted opinion. The reason that men nowadays in Israel have non-stop children. I mean, a girl could be in her 30s and she would have 12 kids. In Israel, it's crazy. Not just in Israel, like in Borough Park and Williamsburg and in New Square, is because there's a mitzvah of Yeshivas Yisrael. So the mitzvah of Yeshivat Yisrael means that you're building up the Jewish people. So they interpret that one as a source for this, and there's another one of they don't believe in contraception for men or like women from that perspective. And I'm trying to remember why.
Wasting seed, I guess.
Sort of, but I mean, I guess this gets a little more perverted, but the Rambam talks about something called derech havorim. So derech havorim means that you don't always have to finish in the woman. It's in the Rambam. I mean, those who like know Hebrew know what I'm talking about. So derech havorim means like crevices or something like that. And look, I mean, I become a little kid when I have to talk about sex topics. Yeah. So, anyways, that's another understanding, but it's not because of be fruitful and multiply. Because once you already have 10 kids and you're living off tzedakah, then it's already. I mean, it's a form of theft.
I mean, but Robert, don't you think that God would be strict in judging you? I mean, there is like the 5 things God, the court of heaven will ask you when you die. I think Dennis Sprague talked about that, and one of them is like, did you make every effort to fulfill Puruvu? So, I mean, even if you have just a boy and a girl, and they eventually have children themselves, God will hold against you that you were like risking only having a girl and a boy, so maybe they could die and anything. And
die, hold on, even if they die, you still fulfill your mitzvah. I mean, even if they don't have kids,
What?
you still fulfill your mitzvah.
No, I think
sure that they procreate. I mean, your son could come out not even liking girls. Yeah. I mean, Rashi only had daughters. The Lubavitcher Rebbe didn't even have kids. This idea,
no, but
yeah.
But the thing is, that's like a philosophical issue. I mean, just it's a mitzvah that you have to put effort on it. So, like, God will like praise your effort and like hold against you if you risk.
So, if you're living on tzedakah, just because you put yourself in a position that you can afford to feed your family, like how is that in any way honorable? Which is typically
No.
Like
I mean, that's not.
Families with 10 kids cannot afford 10 kids. And this is why the tuition, like in their schools, the tuition in Jewish schools are so expensive because there's so many people going for free. Okay. I mean, that's the truth. And it's because of these huge families that they have so many kids when they can't afford to have these kids. And they feel like it's your responsibility to take care of my kid. And this is why, like most secular Jews in Israel are upset with the Haredim.
Yes, but Robert, I mean, I think that is ends up being like a leftist thing, like wanting to take another man's money to like feed your kid. But I mean, the other way is, don't you think the other way is also like wrong by like modern people having like a lot of money and only having like one or 2 kids, since being that there is the mitzvah of Puruvu.
Yeah,
I mean, I know there's many opinions, but all
Prabhu doesn't mean have as many kids as humanly possible.
I know, but it's just like this thing I said, like you should make all the efforts, so ends up being having as many kids as you can get.
Afford.
Like,
No, as you can afford. I mean, that has to be
yeah.
of any decision we make, or then we start stealing from people. When you live off tzedakah,
Yes.
you know, I mean, as a matter of fact, according to halacha, there are parameters on who's eligible to receive charity. Now, I guess these numbers are quite irrelevant, but I think it's similar to like what you give a woman in the ketubah. It's 200 zuz, which I think translated, it's like nothing. It's like you have to make either 200 zuz a month to receive tzedakah. The average person who walks around, you know, like a mashalach, the guy like in the morning when you come out of shul and they're asking you for money. These guys haven't been vetted. Like, you don't know what you're giving your money to. You know, like if you're going to give money to anyone, give money first to your family. Okay. Because you don't know who the heck these people are. You don't know what they're fundraising for. But the idea that only because you have children, it's the responsibility of every Jew to financially take care of your kids, which is pretty much, and anyone who's ever walked down Geula or Meir Sharim have seen that the moms that have 12 kids, these kids run wild because you can't be on top of these 12 kids. Right. I mean, I've seen like, you know, strollers rolling downhill, you know, like crazy, the craziest things I've seen, you know, because you not only have to be able to afford the children you have to be able to take care of the children you have, you know. So let's be practical. The reason the main reason I think that people have so many kids in the very Haredi world, it's because of Kabbalah, because they believe that every child is an extra mazel. It's like an extra, like rabbit's foot in their life.
I'm Robert, but it's not like Dennis Prager says. It's not the thought that counts. It's the deed. I mean, you always try to picture the Haredim like they do for the wrong reasons. I mean, I think I'm not saying to steal from other men, but
how many kids do you have?
I think the ideal world, the
bet.
people should have it like as many kids as they can afford.
I'll populate the world if I had the money, or repopulate the world, whatever. Okay, yeah. So if you're saying to fulfill the mitzvah of having 2 children, a boy and a girl, right? I don't think it matters why you're doing it, right? I mean, apart from that mitzvah, but if you're saying that you believe that you're gonna have extra luck if you have 2 children, go right ahead. But when people have unlimited amount of children, I don't know, like if you've been to Haredi areas in Israel, it's you have a family of 12 living in a 1-bedroom apartment, and they're begging for food, and for some reason people think this is honorable, and they continue doing this over and over again. In the yeshiva system, they feel that this is what they must do, and if they want to stop having children, they need to get a heter from their rav, when it's not even a commandment to procreate to such an extent.
Robert, I think that the reason is like of wasting seed. I'm not saying that is like a prohibition, but I think that's the reason. But anyways, like all the history of the world, that there was like the reality. They didn't have until the 50s. They didn't have like I forgot the word to prevent having kids, like contraceptives. Like, yeah. I mean, the natural way, I think.
That's actually not true. I mean, in the Talmud itself, it talks about something called a moch. So a moch was an early rendition of what we call a sponge nowadays. It's kind of a weird thing, but it was, I guess, it's described as like cloth that they would ram up there and would act as a barrier. So people, trust me, there's
and it was allowed? Was it allowed by the rabbi said?
It was definitely allowed. The question is, I mean, it's brought down like in Hilchos Nida because it may cause unnecessary bleeding. I mean, they become a ziva gedolah, like in many cases. But it's allowed. I mean, it's just, I mean, assuming that you're fulfilling the mitzvah of having children, which is 2 children typically. Yeah. Anyways, let me talk to Karina. And she's well, welcome, Karina.
Hi.
Hi. There was an 80s singer called Karina or is it Cora? No, Karina. Yeah, I think. Anyways, fine. Welcome. The stage is yours. No pressure. On TikTok, guys, like the show. Well, let's get these numbers up again because they're fluctuating. Okay, this is like a pre-Shabbos. Anyways, I try to gear all my classes so people walk out with knowledge they didn't have before. And I am like a database of essentially useless information, at least according to some people. But yeah, so like the show, like, share, follow, share with the haters. Haters get on first.
There are also people who loves you, by the way.
Very nice of you. Yes, I'm pretty sure more people love me than hate me. But I want my enemies to not only really hate me but fear me. Yes, but those are more the political ones, the Antifa and the BLM. Okay. All right. Next, guys. David Hazan, welcome.
Here I am. Shalom lechulam. Ma kore?
Hashem, yom yom, daka, shniya.
Easy. Leat.
Yehi Adonenu, Morenu v'Rabbeinu.
No. Okay, stop it.
I mean, I go to Lubavitch. I took my son's in Lubavitch, by the way. My ex-wife put him there. I think to just piss me off. Yeah, here in LA, like in Lubavitch Educational Studies, it might be the biggest Lubavitch outside of Brooklyn. But yeah, he comes home with pictures of the Alter Rebbe and stuff like that. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I do believe that because I have friends who are Chabadnik.
I'm not anti-Chabad, by the way.
No, I know that.
I love Mishnatistim. I mean, they're like the happy. They're so happy, like always trying to give you a l'chaim, and they're happy. Yeah. The main issue I have with Chabad is not the whole like Mashiach thing. I mean, that doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
The issue is the Tanya. and the first two prakim in the Tanya, just because that redefines like what it means to either become or remain Jewish, and it affects how everyone views the outside world from a Jewish perspective. It taints it. So that's my issue.
Yeah, I know that. In fact, many times you talk even positively about Chabad because they put Mishneh Torah available for everyone for free with the translation. And about that, I have a question, okay? Because I'm not really good at Torah, and I'm not good at it when it comes to studying parashot, stuff like that. So I want to get better and improve myself. I want to know more because I have a big brother, gringo Jew brother.
Gringo? Or
Yeah,
Spanish?
you are the gringo.
Oh,
You are
I mean, I'm Colombian.
yeah,
Like,
yes, but you live in US, so you are a
I'm born in the
gringo.
U.S. Okay, granted, I'm a gringo. Go for it.
Okay, you are a gringo. Okay, so I wanted to know from you if you suggest me to check out Chabad website when it comes for studying parashot. What do you think? Do you have any
I
opinions
mean,
on
what's
that?
the difference? I mean, what the Goodnick edition, right? I mean, is that what they have in the Chabad website in English? I mean, I assume, right?
Yeah, there is also in Hebrew and English. They have all of them.
No, right, but the English version of Chabad, it's called Goodnick, right? I mean, that's what they
No,
have in the schools, right? I mean,
it's always Chabad for my
yeah, I know.
knowledge.
Yeah, but there's an English version by Chabad, right? So the English version, just like there's a JPS, traditional old Jewish one, or NIV.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that there is a translation by Chabad.
Yeah, it's called Goodnick, the Goodnick edition, and that's if you go to any Chabad that's in America at least. It's a very beautiful book. I mean, they made it so nice to compete with Art Scroll because Art Scroll, I mean, has always been like the top in beauty. I mean, Koran is actually probably even nicer, but nice pages and stuff like that. So the problem that I have, at least with for example, one section, like in the Goodnick edition, is when it's trying to describe the menorah, right? And everybody knows the Lubavitch menorah, right? I mean, the Chabad menorah is like V, right? I mean, it's like a bunch of V's, while like a traditional menorah is like a bunch of U's. And like in the Goodnick edition, it says, first of all, it draws the menorah the way that Chabad drew it, which is essentially the way the Rambam drew it, but I mean, it gets more complicated than that. And they basically said that the Rebbe said that it's prohibited to draw it any other way. But the Torah doesn't say that the menorah had straight arms. So that's already, I think, in my opinion, being what's called the Baal Tosif, like you're adding to the Torah. And also, this is even more controversial. Like if you guys came up here to hear me something, like to say something controversial, I think Christian translations of the Torah into English are more accurate than Jewish ones. And I get it. There's some parts in the Christian translations that they modify, right? Like we already know what those parts are. They're mainly in the prophets. But what the Art Scroll does and what the Goodnick does is that it's no longer a literal translation of the Peshat, of the literal text anymore. It's a translation according to how Rashi says it to be translated.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know all of this. So I'm getting something here.
So sometimes like you'll read the Parsha in Hebrew and then you'll read it in English and you'll say it's not the same. And it's because Rashi said that it should be translated like this. So when given, like in this case, like suffix doraita lemeforshon, but that if you have a suffix like on the actual Torah, that you have to rely like on the commentators, which I don't believe in that, right? I mean, it's like Peshat is king, people. Okay, now why are the commentators important? Because sometimes you don't know that what a word means. It's talking about an animal, right? I mean, it's saying that this animal is prohibited. Like, how do you know that animal is the animal we have today? The rabbis will come in and say, well, this word comes from this and make some sort of academic connection. The problem with Rashi is that his parish, like to the Chumash, it's midrashic. It's built off of midrashim. His great grandson was called the Rashbam. So the Rashbam, like, also has a perusha, like to the Chumash, but he specifically says that his grandfather failed in giving a Peshat level commentary to the Torah. So he's going to finish his grandfather's work, his grandfather Rashi, and the commentary of the Rashbam is I believe the most literal commentary to the literal text of the actual Torah. Like he says some things. Even he says that what the Rashbam says that according to the Pashat of the Torah, the day doesn't begin when the sun goes down. He says the day begins when the sun goes up. However, Chazal says that it's when the sun goes down, so we go by Chazal. But he says according to Pashat, it goes like the day begins when the sun goes up. He also says that in Ot, in terms of the reason why you put on tefillin, right, that it acts like an Ot, like a sign to other people, he says that's symbolic. It means that, keep it between your eyes. It means keep it in your mind and, keep the word of God in your heart. It doesn't mean tefillin. However, he understood that Chazal said that this means tefillin. So he's able to make a distinction between Chazal, the Beit Din HaGadol, who actually made something into a halakha, and the actual Pashat. And this is something that most Jews today cannot make a distinction. This is why when translating a literal verse in the Torah, they'll rely on what Rashi says that it should be translated like, even though logically it doesn't agree with Rashi. So this is why Christians actually don't fall into this trap. Christians fall into a different trap, but not in the Torah, by the way, because there aren't too many verses in the Torah that justify Jesus. In the prophets, I get it. In the book of Daniel, I get it. Okay, but in the Torah, I would probably trust. Look, there's a translation in the Christian world called the Young's Literal Translation, and there's another book called the Amplified Bible that will actually give you every possible, way that you could translate a Hebrew word, just to be safe. I don't think that would ever exist in the Jewish world, because people they worship the Meforshim instead of saying this is Rashi's opinion, by the simple fact that we have Nachmanides, we have the Ibn Ezra, we have many different commentators. This shows that Rashi could be wrong, but you cannot find a Chumash in the Jewish world that does not include not just Rashi, but Onkelos. Onkelos, I get it. I mean, Al Pi Halacha, you're supposed to study, you're supposed to
2 times in Hebrew,
right,
once in Aramaic.
and the Targum. But Rashi, come on. I mean, Chumashim that the Rambam had didn't have Rashi. Did they have Chumashim back then? I don't know. Nowadays we say Chumash because we don't want to call it Torah, because the Torah is a Sefer Torah. Chumash is the book. Back then they didn't have a printing press, whatever. But for sure, but they didn't have Rashi. So this is why if you're studying the Torah from either Art Scroll or Gutnick, like the more Haredi translations into English, double check. If you're hearing something that sounds absurd, there's another pasuk. I can't remember where it is, but it says that if Israel does X, Y, and Z, it says that God is going to rejoice with Israel's enemies over Israel. And then Rashi says he could never say that, so he fixes it and says that God is going to rejoice with Israel even though they're suffering. It's so disheartening. I mean, I used to give a Parsha class at my Shabbos table, and then I used to read it in Hebrew and translate it into English, and then I'd be like, this doesn't even match, So, yeah. Now the JPS is more accurate, by the way. Surprisingly, the Art Scroll also in the Aserta de Brot, it says, I know that do not kill could be translated either way, but I mean it says kill and not murder, which I mean more. You would assume they would put murder, because the NIV does put murder, which makes more sense. Because how many people would say, well, you believe in military action against anybody? Well, the Bible says don't kill. But yeah, everything I say, trust but verify. But yeah, I know what I'm talking
Rabbi?
about. Hi.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah. Welcome.
Sorry, I had my headphones ready before. A question about kashrut.
All right, I'll try. Good.
I'm already vegetarian, so I just already don't eat the forbidden foods. But would that also, if I go to like a family's house and they cook dinner, I wouldn't be allowed to because they might have had food touching their plates, or like a Chinese buffet? Does that mean it's not kosher?
Wait. I mean, say it again. I mean, say the second part, that you wouldn't be allowed to eat in a non-Jewish person's house?
Yes. That's not kosher to eat at a family's home anymore? And who is not Jewish?
It's a problem.
Mm.
The truth, the actual halacha is if there's tam. So tam is flavor. If for some reason there's a transmission of flavor, that's when it actually becomes prohibited. But the practice is, the practice is to have different dishes. Obviously, from meat to dairy, you have to kosher dishes. But if you ate something that was touched by something that was prohibited, but there was no taste transferred, right? Now,
Hmm.
if it's done if it's done bishogig, like by mistake, then you can rely on what's called bittul shishim. So the bittul shishim means that it gets nullified by 60, but it's all tied to flavor. And most people don't understand this about kashrus. When someone's eating, like pork flavored, I don't know, kosher food, it's actually violating the notion because it tastes like pork. I mean, not that a Jewish person would probably know what pork tastes like, but pork tastes good, people. Let's not lie to ourselves, okay? I mean, it's actually more like of a schut, like to say that you don't do something, but you love it, than to say that you don't do it, but you find it disgusting. So why can't, when you eat in your parents' house, that they can, I mean, you could eat along with them, but just bring your own meals. There's really no way around it. There's no way around it, unless, and there's no issue even with them cooking for you, right? I mean, like Bishul Akum doesn't apply unless you're eating caviar or something. Not that you cook caviar, but it would have to be things that kings would eat. Like it's called like the laws of all of the Shulchan Malachim, that it has to be like foods that are cooked on a king's table. But they could cook for you, but just drop off your pots and pans beforehand. I mean, that's just a standard, as unpractical as it may seem. And if you don't want to, I'm not right now telling you what to do, right? There's a big difference between breaking laws and denying that laws exist. And this is a very important principle that people don't understand. Some people think that only because you're not able to keep a specific halakha, right, then you could say that there's no actual halakha and that was made up by the rabbis. Say, you know what, I'm not strong enough for doing this, or I value this over that, right? I mean, there's this, in life, the choice is the best being the enemy of the better. Like your mom is God forbid, terminally ill, and you want to have a meal with her, right? Do what you got to do. Don't acknowledge that the laws exist, right? But then, also be like, I mean, God will have to deal with me afterwards, right? What I see in the Jewish world is that, I mean, someone likes cheese on hamburgers, right? And will say, like, there's no prohibition of eating cheese with hamburgers. Instead of saying, God, I'm weak, okay? And people break laws all day long. Those are the rabbis you can't trust. The rabbis you can't trust are the ones who are accusing other rabbis of like being wicked, because everybody's wicked. Okay, the difference is people who throw the standards away, because then there's no hope for that person. There's nothing for them to return to. But that being said, everyone is a mixed bag of observance, but we can't deny that there's an actual standard that doesn't change, and this is one of those standards.
And I was wondering, why is chicken allowed when you're not supposed to eat animals that eat other animals?
Also, there's no prohibition of eating animals that are not eating animals that eat other animals. So there's a misconception on kashrut and why certain animals are prohibited, and it's typically boils down to birds. The Torah tells you what birds you can't eat, but it doesn't say what birds you could eat. Is it vice versa? It tells you, yeah. So many people have came to the conclusion that they're scavenger birds, which is actually not true. I mean, like you said, I mean, chickens eat bugs and worms and all this stuff. Yeah. So poultry, there's a later rabbinic injunction. It's not halachic. I know Rashi brings it down that in order for you to eat any bird, that you need to have a Masorah for it, like a tradition that Jews ate it. This is why there's a whole idea that turkey in the Ashkenazi world wasn't eaten till the Baal Shem Tov. I don't know, like, you guys heard this. I mean, if you didn't know it, like, you know it now. So they asked, I think it was the Baal Shem Tov, the question about turkeys in America, because turkeys are not native in Europe. And then because they wouldn't eat it because of this Ashkenazi, I believe it's an Ashkenazi tradition that you need a Masorah for the birds that you're going to eat. And then he said, oh, we have a bird here in Europe that's similar, and this is why we teach that the Baal Shem Tov allowed us to eat turkey. So in Israel today, people eat more turkey than chicken. Like most of the shawarma is turkey, I believe. Although, I mean, you can't buy an oven in Israel where a turkey fits to eat it. I mean, I lived in Israel for 5 years, and I'm a big fan of Thanksgiving. The ovens in Israel are tiny. If you try to fit a whole American, assuming it's kosher, like a butterball-sized turkey, it's not going to fit. So in Turkey, they sell like turkey breast or turkey drumsticks. But anyways, yeah, but the whole notion of needing Masorah, I'm pretty sure it's not like this. like in the Talmud or by the Rambam or anything. So if the Torah doesn't prohibit the bird, it's technically allowed, whether it's a scavenger or not. It just doesn't. Yeah, I mean, even the notion of, the notion of fins and scales, snapira v'kashkesa, doesn't appear in the Torah.
Yes.
So, okay, it says don't eat snapira v'kashkesa, but it doesn't say what's an actual scale, by the way. So this is why there's a big debate in Judaism how some people say you could eat swordfish and some people say you can't eat swordfish. I mean, some people say caviar is kosher, right? Black caviar. Everybody knows like the red, salmon roe is kosher. Black caviar is kosher. Some people say it's not. It wasn't until Nachmanides, the Ramban, like not the Rambam, the Ramban, who took it upon himself, and he's not a posek, by the way, because the Ramban is a commentator. He didn't try to like extract Jewish or develop Jewish law, but in his commentary, I believe, to the Torah, he's the first one to ever to classify what a scale is and what a scale isn't. Right? I mean, he says that it's like a livush, that it has to be something that you're easily able to take off, like almost like a coat. So he says that what constitutes a scale on a fish is if it flicks off easily. While I mean, some fish have like bony scales that if you try to like take it off, it'll peel some of the skin. So this is why swordfish is the fish, I believe, that it's born with scales and then it loses scales when it gets older. And then, like according to the Ramban, it doesn't meet it. But the Jews had a tradition of eating swordfish. They also had a tradition of eating sturgeon, especially Jews from Italy. So the conservative movement today does give a hashkacha on swordfish. And there are many Orthodox Jews, including, I think, Rav Herschel Schechter, like the Rav, like Rabbi Soloveitchik, or the old one, JB, who said it was kosher on that basis. But if you ask the average person who learns only Torah from YouTube, and yes, you guys are on YouTube and TikTok now, but I guess we're the exception, will tell you what's kosher and what's not kosher by what they find in their kosher market, and not necessarily what halacha says kosher and not kosher. So that's just an FYI.
All right.
So
Thank you. I'm heading out to synagogue. Have a good Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Bye.
So Jenny's asking if flounder is kosher. I don't know much about flounder. I mean, does flounder have scales, fins? I don't know.
Yes, it has scales. I was going to ask you, because you said if it pulled off the skin below, so then does that kill my redfish?
I mean, like, I'm not a big fan of fish, so I don't know much about it. But this is according to the Ramban. You don't have. So I made a video on how caviar is kosher. So I happen to know a lot about caviar for many different reasons. So most Jews eat red caviar, right? It comes either from salmon or trout. However, the real caviar, what's called beluga caviar, is most Jews will tell you it's not kosher. Again, because of Nachmanides. But then the Notable Yehuda specifically said it is kosher, because he says that you could remove the skins, like the scales easily, like if you put it in alkaline water. Most people don't know much about Judaism. Now, I'm not telling you to start serving sturgeon on a Shabbos table and invite your rabbi, right? But just know the difference. Know the difference. I mean, just like I think we were arguing. I mean, someone was talking about chicken and milk, right? Because in Judaism, you're not allowed to drink milk or eat milk with meat, right? With essentially red meat. But the prohibition was expanded to include poultry. Now, some ask, how could it include poultry when chickens don't lactate? Because the commandment is don't boil a kid in its mother's milk. But the rabbis in the Talmud extended it lest someone would think that you're eating meat with milk. When you're eating chicken with milk, they extended it. However, in the Talmud itself, it says that there was a community that did eat chicken and poultry, supposedly even after this became an edict. So it shows that maybe it didn't really stick. However, if you ask the average rabbi today, he's not even going to bring you that exception. He's just going to tell you the most stringent opinion. So I'm not telling you to start serving chicken and milk together, but know that it's essentially macro level machloket. It's a debate amongst scholars. But anyways, next.
Robert,
All right, what's up?
I was meaning to ask you about what you've mentioned earlier, like about the Rashban. I would like to propose you said about the mitzvahs of putting feeling in the Torah being like only metaphorical, and that's the obvious way to interpret. But I mean, let me just question: do you think that the mitzvah of bris milah should be taken metaphorically
No, because there's examples
by the
of it.
Torah? So let me just say, there is a verse that says you should circumcise your heart in the environment. So
Yeah.
the mitzvah of
Yeah, but it's
feeling
part of the song, you
said
mean.
that you should attach the word. What?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's in Devarim, but I think it's in Devarim 32 or 33. I mean, it's part of a song. I mean, it's not part of the actual like mitzvah, right? I mean, is that what you're talking about? Like,
I'm just
chapter.
I'm just I'm
Well, you're
just
playing
saying
devil's
like
advocate. Go ahead.
I'm just trying to like this is something that I thought about a long time ago, and like it seems that let me just continue. So the just as much like the mitzvah of putting feeling, the verse says that you shall attach to your arm and to your head, and then the next verse says and to your heart. So why do you take all the verses metaphorically? Why don't you only take the verse about attaching the words to your heart metaphorically? And because, like, I mean, say
Okay.
it's impossible, it's obvious a metaphorical way to say, but it's an actual thing that you can do, like to attach to your arm to your head. Just as much like the mitzvah of Bris Milah says there is a verse of circumcising your foreskin, and there's another verse of circumcising your heart. So I mean, there's two verses. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I'm just trying to make the example that it's possible that God actually meant literally, and it's not like you say, the rabbis are trying to illustrate. No, maybe you're right. It's metaphorical, but there is
Okay.
a proper way to a valid way to interpret that would make literally.
All right. So before I
Don't you
answer
think?
the question, my friend Scrappy is actually bringing up a good point. So why do Litvish people eat turkey? Now, Litvaks weren't against the Baal Shem Tov, but Litvaks were against the Alter Rebbe. Like in terms of, what you mean like misnagdim? You know, that if someone's like a true misnagid, like why would he hold like by like any Hasidic custom because they put Hasidim in, Cherem. They didn't put all Hasidim in Cherem. They put the students of the Lubavitcher, like of the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, or the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, like in Cherem, or essentially the Balatanya himself. Okay, so I didn't say that it's metaphor, but that tefillin like an ot was a metaphor. I said that the Rashbam actually only in one place because it appears twice with that mitzvah of like wearing tefillin and it's supposed to be like a sign, right? Appears actually twice in the Chumash. In one of the places, he alludes to the idea that it's metaphorical in nature. That it's
Yes,
really
is in Exodus.
Yeah. So
I checked.
Yeah. So there's two different places now. Like whether it's metaphorical or not, Chazal have the authority to put on tefillin, right? Because that's their job. Whether it's metaphorical or not. Like, does it sound? I mean, honestly, let's be honest. But does it sound like God wanted you to walk around with boxes on your head? I mean,
Robert,
I
I know. It's not my point. My point. Let me just like.
No,
I think that.
So in Deuteronomy chapter 32, I think it's 32, but it talks about circumcising your heart, right? You know, the difference with an actual bris milah is because there's examples of it says whether you couldn't eat the Pesach unless you were circumcised. And it said it, for people, specifically like, who weren't Hebrews. It was an act. It says that Zipporah had to run to circumcise her son because God was, or like the Malach HaMavet was going to unalive her son. There's
but maybe they get it wrong and it was a metaphor. Like that is just narrative.
Okay, I get it. So this is why the Chachamim got together and said, this is how we're going to do it. Or then you're going to have some people who are circumcised and some people who aren't. It's going to be like a high school shower room,
Yeah, Robert, I'm just trying to make the point. I understand what you're saying. I know that at the end of the day, like I was listening the other day, your discussion with Rav Moshe, that the Kabbalists don't put tefillin on Hol HaMoed and you put, like, I know that you keep and that the authority is on the rabbis. The point I'm trying to make is like there's sometimes that you make seem the rabbis got it wrong, but you have to tolerate their interpretation. But actually, if you think about it, at least their interpretation is a valid one. I mean, that's just one example I've thought about in the past. Like, I think I not try to make the point about the boxes. I'm just trying to make the point at first, like that. I mean, God cares about this thing of having a sign, an actual sign. There is the mitzvah of tzitzis. I mean, that it's like the modern mentality that, oh, there's no such thing as like you having a sign and remembering, like it's all in your heart. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, for
Maybe
sure.
God really meant it. Like it's just like the Samaritans. They don't put a box on the doors, but they like write on the doors. There's a such thing in the world like sign and plates that you write. I mean, don't you think is
Oh,
like
I get-
a valid
I
point?
didn't think
So
about that. I mean, I don't think about that. I mean, I think about. I mean, I actually believe in Torah Shabbat Peh. Now, I'm not saying that I believe it was given off from Mount Sinai, but I believe that the court, the Beit Din HaGadol, had the authority, for the sake of consensus, to say this is how we're going to illustrate this mitzvah. Like, I don't believe any rabbi can tell you how to properly understand an ethical mitzvah, but something we consider a hook. How are we going to keep Shabbat? How do we keep Yom Kippur? We need some structure, because you're going to tell people to show up for Shabbos, Friday at 10, and they're going to show up on Wednesday at noon. I mean, there's some people who keep Shabbos on Wednesday. Right? I mean, they have this whole thing
yes,
called a Sabbath.
Lunar
So,
Sabbath.
yeah, like we need some sort of consensus. So this is why I don't ask why, I ask what. Like, what do we actually have to do? Why do we have to do it? That's secondary. Clearly, I mean, I analyze everything through my ethical filter. But if something sounds outrageous, then that's when I start questioning my religion, which I would question anyone or I would encourage everyone to question their religion if it's making you a bad individual.
I mean, my point is that, like, when I get it, this pragmatical approach, but I think the average Christian, who knows nothing about the Bible, didn't read these specific mitzvahs, like question the rabbis and say that they made up like absurd interpretations. But sometimes, at least, when you go see, there might be an actual interpretation. I'm just saying, like like to write on your walls, on your door. Like, don't you think that is supposed to be literal?
Yeah,
So
but that's more
if you
confusing than anything. Hold on, wait a minute. That's more confusing. Clearly, anyone who reads the Bible straight through is going to come to their own conclusions. If they're not even religious, and from that perspective, they're asking, what does Rashi say? Then I assume they're converting because they're in love with the girl. Okay, but if someone's actually searching for God and they see that you shall put the Torah between your eyes and over your heart, right? Let them come to whatever conclusion. When they're ready to convert, they'll say, this is how the Jewish people choose to illustrate this mitzvah. Whether, there's credence to it or not.
I understand. I'm just saying that they shouldn't be like intolerant to say that, oh my God, the rabbi is so crazy. It's obviously like a metaphor, since there is an explanation. I mean, there's many examples like that. I'm just saying one like that. I've made the argument. Just like there's a verse, I've made a parallel, and I think that you can attach words to your arm, so it should be a literal sense, but you can attach the words to your heart. So it should be taken like a metaphor, like not the whole verses, just like that.
Yeah, because we're stuck here.
Okay.
Here, Jenny, come up and ask the question. Because I hate just answering questions from the chat and then like we lose the back and forth. All right, cool. All right. Hi. Well, so Jenny asked the question. Now you're here, but I'm just going to reiterate what I heard. There's no issue in Jewish law with inviting Gentiles to your house, even for a meal. Okay. There's many times converts are invited. People who are in the process of converting are invited for a meal for Shabbos. Are there any rabbis who have issues with it? Some do, on certain holidays, especially what's called like a 2-day yontif. There's some holidays that Jews keep for 2 days, and the idea that on a 2-day holiday, there's an understanding that you're allowed to cook. From that perspective, almost a 3-day holiday, you're allowed to cook on the second day for people who are eating on the first, like on even the third day. So they're saying, yeah, there's an allowance to cook, but you're allowed to, like, it only applies to cooking for a Jewish person and not a Gentile. But it's such a rare instance. And then some people have another prohibition, but this isn't mainstream. Like there's a group called Chabad that we were talking about, that if they have any wine at the table and there's Gentiles present, well, they have to keep it in a paper bag. You know, it's a weird thing. They believe that if Gentile looks at the wine, like it impurifies it.
Spelled with a CH.
Yeah, CH. Yeah.
Okay. I see. I read these things, but I don't know how to pronounce them. You know, because I'm reading it on my own.
So yeah. So Chabad, anything in Judaism that you find with CH is Cha. You know, like Hanukkah or Chutzpah or Challah. Okay.
Yes.
So, but do you ever get a chance to visit your local synagogue?
No, I haven't. I've been
tomorrow.
Really busy.
You gotta do it tomorrow.
Really busy with work.
All right, guys. I mean, this is not just for Jenny. This is for everybody. Tonight is Shabbos. It's Shabbos here in like an hour and 45 minutes. Okay. I encourage you guys to go to your local synagogue tomorrow. Okay, around 9:30. Let's say 9:30, 10 o'clock. Dress to impress, obviously. You know, ladies, you have to wear a skirt. Like sleeves have to reach like at least your elbows. The skirt has to reach at least your knees. Cover up your chest. If you drive there, well, you're clearly gonna have to drive there. Park a few blocks away. Turn your cell phone off. Walk in. Do not, if you're a woman, do not shake the hands of any men, because Jewish men, Orthodox Jewish men, don't shake the hands of women, and vice versa. Sit in the women's section. When they stand, you stand. When they sit, you sit. And then at the end, just be friendly. I mean, there's probably going to be a meal afterwards. Such a power move, right? It shows that you're stepping out of your element and you're saying, you know what? I'm curious about these people. I'm going to go and find out. And I'll tell you, it's easier for me to send a woman to a synagogue than a guy, because guys, I guess they have this whole predatory sense to them, like, who's this dude? Right, while women are less intimidating. Like, hopefully that's not offensive to people. But guys, do it also. Tomorrow, I encourage you to go to your local synagogue, even though you don't want to convert. Just go. Say, look, I mean, I love the Jewish people, blah, blah, blah. And I just want to see what's going on, and, you know, and just partake. And let me know what happens.
Another friend, another female friend.
What? What'd you say?
What if we were to go with another female friend?
Why not? Why not? I mean, as long as, you know, I mean, dress nice.
Go with a friend. Take a girl, not necessarily a man and woman going. Just take one of my female friends with me.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that every scenario is going to be welcoming, okay, but most will be. I mean, sometimes, like, if you walk in like wrapped in a Palestinian flag, they may not be happy to see you. Okay.
I would never.
Well, you know. All right, Jenny, you're on the spot. Next question.
My next question. Well, the reason I asked that question, my father actually sent me a verse in the New Testament that troubled me, because the question I asked, it said that Christians should not even invite anyone into their house or even greet anyone who denies Jesus Christ as the Messiah. And I was like, well, how are we going to work? I was just like, you know,
yeah.
I want to ask if there's anything like that in the Torah, the prophets, you know, the Tanakh, or the, you know.
So the only Christians I've seen take that portion of the New Testament seriously are the Black Hebrew Israelites. They'll say that they're not allowed to like greet like non-believers or people who don't believe in Jesus. So no. Clearly, like, if someone's unethical, I mean, God says that you can't love, well, through David inspired, that you can't love God unless you hate evil. So for sure we dislike bullies and people who are not decent. But there's no prohibition in the Torah of not welcoming someone in your house, who again is not trying to hurt you or your kids religiously or physically. I know the book of Acts sort of makes it seem that Peter that was practicing some supposed Jewish custom of not eating alongside Gentiles. Now, this idea does arise in certain places in terms of marriage. If there's a chance that by eating even the food, the kosher food, because sometimes like Jews are allowed to eat bread that is not necessarily made by Jews. It's called Postpalter. Like a company, like a guy makes a lot of bread, and then you're buying it from him, and he has a little bench there, like, and you want to eat it, right? It says that you should be cautious, like for the sake of marriage, that your children might not just kind of get too close with their children and then intermarry. But there's no actual halakha that I mean, assuming that there's no reason to think that would happen on Gentiles eating with Jews, and it happens all the time, especially when people are looking into conversion. If you go to a synagogue, I would say maybe 1% of the people there are probably like the relatives of a convert or even workers of the synagogue, and they're eating alongside Jewish people, and nobody cares.
And yes, and nobody that I know even keeps First John. The chapter First John chapter. I think there's only one chapter, so it's First John 1. But yeah, that would be impossible. I mean, how in this would anyone be able to do that?
Yeah. All right. Oh, welcome, ridiculous.
Yeah. You know, my ridiculous. Hey, whenever you talk about the conversion and assimilation, I always have to come out and say that is totally not good, not a good thing.
Conversion to Judaism?
Yeah, I mean, the way they do it today, it's totally false, totally fake. The Sephardim don't believe it. I mean, we do, but not in that way. Not in the way the Ashkenaz do.
Explain further.
Yeah, interesting.
The Ashkenaz, what do they do? I mean, I've seen a bunch of, like, in my community, there's some, I'm a Bukharian Jew, right? You know that, I told you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so now you remember who I'm talking? I'm in Phoenix. Yeah. So we have a couple of Bukharian guys who actually married Mexicans, and they have a Ashkenaz rabbi convert the lady. Okay. Now the lady, I mean, she converted just to get married, and that's it. No mitzvahs kept, no nothing. Just to go through the chuppah. Right. That's what I don't believe in that. That's why I don't believe in that.
Well, I don't believe in converting just for marriage, but it's still a kosher conversion.
What they do, Ashkenazim, that's what they do. They allow it for some reason.
Well, I mean, Sephardim allow it also, by the way. I mean, don't.
No, they don't. That's why Sephardic rabbis will never let you convert or marry you under the chuppah if you aren't converted like a year before without knowing the guy at least. I mean, the way. How is it supposed to be? If you meet a guy,
right,
you want to marry him.
So Sephardim in America rarely do conversions. Rarely. I mean, it's just because, like, Sephardi Jews, and I don't consider Bukharians technically Sephardi, but but it's a minority. I mean, you're a minority group. So most conversions in America, anywhere you go, it's going to be an Ashkenazi Beit Din. Right?
Yes.
Because of the OU, or I guess you're close to California, the RCC, the Rabbinical Council of California. It's mostly Ashkenazi. Okay. Are Sephardim more skeptical on converts? Yes. I mean, I had a friend. I mean, it's not even a Syrian thing. The Syrians for sure don't even accept converts. But my friend was Egyptian, and he married a convert, and they basically disowned him.
Right. That's what we do.
Yeah, but it's because of superstition. I mean, it's not because of halakha. Okay.
It's because of halakha, and I'll tell you why. I mean, I know you told me once that there's nowhere where that it says or whatever. It's all. Remember how I told you, like, you have to let the person who wants to convert. Wants to convert, you have to let him, throw him, tell him no, don't do it for like 3 times. And you said it's by the Ramban. And I looked it up, and you were right. I'm not saying it's a halacha, but we hold that we hold it different. We want if the convert to be an Orthodox once he becomes an convert, because that's the whole point.
Well, that's a double standard. I mean, because most Sephardim aren't Orthodox, by the way.
No, if you're born into, like, I'm not Orthodox. Like, I can use my phone on Shabbat.
Wait. Hold on. Wait a minute.
But it's okay for me.
No, it's not okay for you. Hold on. Wait a minute. It's not. See, that's where the double standard begins.
So that's okay.
So you're gonna point. Okay, like you're gonna point your finger at.
You're right.
I'm not saying I know, wrong. But it's wrong. I mean, it's.
Of course, it's not wrong.
No, it's wrong what you're doing.
You're going to convert to Judaism. Unless you so if you're going to convert to becoming a Jew, then your grandchildren are already 100% pure. Not you, not your children.
Well, I don't believe in that. I don't believe that only because you happen to,
That's what
so
we
if my
know.
grandmother
That's what
was
we do.
Jewish, hold on, if my grandmother was Jewish, and I converted, by the way, I converted 25 years ago. If my grandmother was Jewish, yes, I would be Jewish halakhically, but that doesn't mean that I'm 100% okay. Like if I don't keep mitzvot, I mean, I'm a heretical Jew. I'm an idolatrous Jew. This only because you're Jewish, it doesn't mean that you're special to God. That's a misconception. Only if you keep mitzvot. It says only that you will only be God's Am Segula, his special people, only if you keep mitzvot. This idea that an irreligious Jew is going to point his finger at an irreligious convert and say, I'm better than you. The truth is you're on the same level. You're both Jewish, right? And you're both not religious. So, but if you convert, it's a procedure. It's a legal procedure. If you go through it, even if it's done insincerely, once the legal procedure is done, you're both legally Jewish. If you lived in this, like in the land of Israel, and you were Mechalel Shabbat, would you'd be Chayav Mitah. That's either like if you were a fake, or a convert who converted under false pretenses, or like a secular Jew. It wouldn't matter. It would behoove you not to live in Israel. Right? That's why throughout Jewish history, Jews live outside of Israel. But to say that a secular Jew counts, but a secular convert doesn't, it's kind of a double standard.
Yeah, seems like it.
Yeah, but he does have a nice car, though.
May I ask a question?
Don't
I
forget
didn't
about
know
the
you were
golden rule.
converted.
Huh? What?
I didn't know you converted.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's
I didn't know that. You never told me that. You said you already.
That's right. It looks white, don't it? Have you seen the Malcolm X? It's like, woo.
Seriously, you converted? Because if you did, then I have to speak differently with you.
Oh, okay. Don't treat me any special.
Not in a bad way, in a good way. What are you
No,
talking about?
I get it, but that's so destructive. Saying that,
Yes,
wait. I mean, this person's a convert. I have to treat them special. We just want to be treated the same. We just want to be treated the same.
With a higher respect.
No, it's not. Don't do it. Like whenever you over embellish somebody, what you end up doing is causing resentment in the Jewish world. Saying, people hear about the converts are like Supermen, but the day you meet a convert, you're going to realize, well, you're not so special. You must not be a real convert. Who converted you? It's better to say, we're just the same. We're just me. People treat me like crap because I'm a convert. There's many views I hold, like on TikTok, that I disagree with other people. I mean, I take more of a Haredi approach to Israel. I support Israel, but I don't call myself a Zionist.
Do you believe that converts have less of a Yetzer Hara than a regular Jew?
No, it's the same. First of all,
you see, that's where we're different. I say 100% yes.
A greater Yetzer Hara?
Yes, convert. I mean, maybe you do now because you've been in it so long. You already understand. You. I don't know. Are you really a convert? You're just saying it.
I'm a convert. Why would I lie? It's like if I told people I'm like 5'2".
Some of my Jewish friends told me already. He definitely is a convert.
No, whether they're lying or not, it doesn't matter what you claim to be. It's what you know.
He used to be a Catholic.
Oh, I was never a Catholic. Well, I was born Catholic,
Well, I don't know. It's going to ask.
But anyways, it doesn't matter. I don't think any Jewish person who knows anything about Judaism.
I know you have a Russian wife, right? I remember
these rumors. But yeah, okay.
You told me yourself, bro.
Affirmative.
You told me. I remember these things.
Yeah, you're killing my game. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
What's wrong with having a Russian wife? It's beautiful.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
But did you convert for her?
No. Well, this isn't even like my first wife, by the way.
Right.
Yeah, no. I'm telling you, I'm really Jewish now.
Your wife is half Bukhari, right?
I mean, I told you everything, huh? Did I tell you everything?
Yes,
accurate. Affirmative. Okay. Anyways, yeah. Okay. That being said, yeah, I'm a convert. It's true. Like most people convert actually lie and say that they didn't convert after they convert because they don't want the backlash. Okay. There's a backlash with converts. I mean, they feel like you don't know as much, this and that. The difference is I converted 25 years ago and I lived in Israel for 5 years. So I'm very Jewish. And I've lived in Miami Beach almost my whole life, and
you didn't have motives. You didn't have ulterior motives. This was your motive to become a Jew.
No, I get it. That's my motive. But even if someone does have ulterior motives, they're still halakhically Jewish. They're still Jewish. Just like if your grandparent was Karl Marx and his aim is to destroy religion, you're still Jewish. You're George Soros is still a Jew, okay? Unfortunately. Halakhically, he's still Jewish. Is he special to God in any way? Absolutely not. Okay? I mean, like, do I hope he ceases to walk around?
Why
Yes,
is he not special to God?
Because he's a leftist, spreading
I
anti-religion.
know who he is. I'm saying, why isn't he? Maybe he has a purpose for God, just like the guy with the mustache in the early 40s and the 30s.
Oh, so he's special to God also?
I'm sorry, what?
Is he special to God as well?
Of course, there's a purpose for everything.
Okay, so I don't believe in that. So like you must daven by Chabad. That's something Chabad invented, by the way. Chabad has this idea that everyone has a specific purpose. What?
Somebody doesn't just wake up one day and say, you know what? I'm going to be so powerful. It's only a person can make you so powerful is a higher being. You can't be one short little guy with a little mustache becomes so powerful in the world unless you were meant to do it by a higher being.
Okay, so like I just don't believe in that. I think it's silly. The idea that only because you're popular, Chuck Schumer is there because God put him there, right? I mean, like you drive a Corvette because God bless you.
As much as we hate him or I hate him or whatever, it's still there's a reason for him.
Oh, I don't believe there's a reason for everything that happens on this planet. Because if it's like that, if God controls everything from that perspective, why do good people suffer, right, unjustly?
Exactly. I'm sorry to yeah, it's very unfortunate, but that like today everybody hates Israel. I mean,
right?
Because it says in the Halacha that the Israel will be hated, the Jews will be hated when Mashiach.
Everybody doesn't hate Israel. That's not true.
Yeah, no, but he means like the non-Christian world.
The world is.
Mashiach will come when the world hates Israel, the Jews.
Okay, wait a minute. All right, so I don't believe this, by the way. I mean, I don't believe that the reason the world hates Israel is because it's in some way prophesied and it's meant to be. Okay.
It's meant to be.
Okay. See, that's the difference between me and the Kabbalistic approach. I believe in complete free will. I could tell you why many people hate Israel, and it has nothing to do with God, by the way. It has nothing to do with Torah. I mean, they hate Israel for political reasons. They would hate Israel. Here, listen, people would hate Israel even if it was Christian. Unless it's Muslim, the people in that region will not tolerate being subject to anybody. As a matter of fact, Israel would be hated more if it was a Christian country. Christians are the most persecuted people on this planet today, and nobody cries for Christians. And there's no word. What?
That's true.
That's absolutely true.
Do you have your bag ready? Mashiach is coming.
Look at this. I mean, you want to sing Yechid?
Social media. I mean, it says in the Torah the whole world will hear the shofar, and we got social media. That's how the world is going to hear it.
All right, so the Torah doesn't say that, by the way. I mean, that's actually the Book of Revelation. The Book of Revelation talks about the great trumpet. But yeah, I understand the rabbis teach this as well, right?
Are you ready? You got your bag ready? I got my bag by my bed.
Here, you have a nice car. Anyways, you
married?
Married?
To sell everything.
You're married?
I have to turn everything into gold.
You're married?
Of course. 30 years. 4 kids, 4 grandkids.
Shkoyach.
Ashikoyach.
Yeah. All right. I'm Ashkenaz.
What? I have a question.
Yeah.
What is the Jewish perspective on the Messiah? Do they believe he's going to rule in Jerusalem?
All right. I mean, I'll let the ridiculous. But I mean, just tell me your name, bro. I mean, I feel weird calling you.
My name is ridiculous. Call me Henry. I don't care what you call me.
All right, Henry, my friend Henry. Like, I'll let him expound on it because my notion.
Very white name. White people name Henry. I like that name. Very white.
Is it? You think so, Henry?
Yeah, it's a very white name, Henry.
I mean, Henry could be Enrique. So, I mean, Enrique is
still a white name because Spanish people are from Europe.
There. All right.
Yeah, I have a point. Okay, because when you think about Spanish people, you think about Latinos that are mixed Spanish people with natives, but in reality, Spanish people are white people from Europe, right?
Oh, Spanish is like, I mean, Sephardic. Sepharad, yes, is Spain.
And Sephardic.
All right. Yeah. No, the Rambam was also Sephardi. Although I mean, Sephardim nowadays are not the descendants of the Rambam.
I know. Unfortunately.
All right. So, go ahead, ridiculous. I mean, explain to her the popular accepted idea, like, of the Jewish Messiah.
I have no idea.
I mean, what you were taught. You're talking about having your bags ready because Mashiach is right around the corner. All right. I mean, you must know what you're looking for.
Well, when I see it, I'll know. That's what we're taught.
I mean, Andrew Tate's in jail, so I don't know if well, Shabtai Tzvi was put in jail also, so I don't know if I should say lahavdil. Welcome, first century. Hi, what's up? First century, is that Judaism? Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta ask a question. First century. All right, this is a serious question. I think it was you, but I saw someone on the live of like some Jewish people doing tarot cards and saying that it's kosher and in Torah you're allowed to read tarot cards, and then like you were in that live.
I think so. It was some lady, and I told her you can't do that, or I told her read me as a joke or something. I don't know. I don't remember what it was.
All right, okay. No, for some reason I thought you were endorsing it. So I mean, I'm just making sure.
No. She was some lady with a Jewish star, and I was actually, I don't remember what it was. It was a couple of days ago. You're right.
Yeah, but they were bashing me there also, by the way, and I'm sure you heard that as well.
I wasn't there at that time. I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that.
Okay. All right, just making sure like you're not going to do a card reading for everybody, because if you do, there's 30 people on this live and 10 people on the YouTube, so we'll be here for a while. Yeah. Anyways, my friend Raider was there. Okay, so Jenny wants to know the Jewish understanding of the Messiah. I'm going to tell you according to Maimonides. Okay, the truth is nobody knows exactly anything concrete about the Messiah, but the most popular understanding appears in Hilchot Melachim of the Rambam. So he believes it's going to be a regular human being, right? It says that if he helps us build the temple and gather in Israel back into the fold, then he calls him Mashiach Vadai, the actual Messiah, right? Because some people teach that the Messiah is going to build the temple. No, according to Maimonides, he's going to assist, but he's not the one who's just going to build it. It says he's going to fight the wars of the Lord. He's essentially going to be a military leader. However, Maimonides says that he's going to die. Eventually, he's going to die of old age, and his son will take over, and on and on. However, he says that if the Messiah dies before fulfilling his mission, he's not the Messiah. This is Maimonides' understanding of the Messiah. Maimonides teaches that the Messianic age will be no different than our age nowadays, with the exception that Israel will have sovereignty over themselves. Now, the more Kabbalistic idea of the Messiah, taught by Nachmanides, the Ramban, and the Zohar, and the Arizal, and all this stuff, is essentially that the Messiah is never going to die. The Messiah could fly in the sky, read your mind. It says that he could tell like what you're thinking by reading the lines on your forehead.
All the dead people will rise.
Oh, well, Techiyat HaMeitim is not necessary. Like, no one knows exactly when that's going to happen. I mean, some people say it's after Yom HaMashiach, before Yom HaMashiach. But yes, the resurrection of the dead is a principle that I can't really articulate because it doesn't make so much sense to me. What I would say most Jews are adamant about is that it's not Jesus. I don't believe in Jesus as the Messiah. Right? I ultimately think that we don't know. We don't know. But according to Maimonides, the only mitzvah we have to believe in a Messiah is the mitzvah that appears in the Torah to establish a king. That's it. A king that's going to be righteous like King David. That's it. Now, the idea that it's some sort of metaphysical individual from that perspective who will die and come back, I don't believe that, but there are some Jews. I mean, for example, Chabad. Chabad believes that their Messiah is coming back. And they actually justify it from the Gemara. There's this place called Per Chelik that it starts asking the question that if the Messiah would come from the dead, who would he be? And then everyone started saying that my Rebbe would be the Messiah, like the Messiah, my Rebbe, or would be Daniel, or it would be David, and and then Rashi, in some way, says that yes, the notion of the Messiah coming back is an idea. So I don't really believe in a lot of these things because I try to be more rational, but I think that's probably the best big picture notion of the Messiah. Unless Courtney wants to add something.
That's pretty good.
Thank you. Try to cover our bases. Welcome, Spock. With
Hello.
a name like Spock, we gotta let people in. What's up?
Hey, I was just wondering, you say that Judaism as a good alternative to Christianity. Well, what are some major, benefits to that?
Okay, so not just Christianity, Islam and atheism, but let's just deal with the two offshoots. Islam is essentially an offshoot of Judaism. Christianity claims to be the completion or an extension to it, right? However, the only two things that Christianity and Islam ultimately brought into the mix, right? The two major things is just more narrative and more metaphysical ideas. That's their actual contribution, because the ethics, and I get that Jesus took laws from the Torah and made them even more ethical, right? But they weren't inventing anything new. They weren't reinventing the wheel ethically. So both Islam and Christianity recycled the ethics that God gave us in the Torah to make their belief systems ethical. I'm not saying like Jesus was a Jewish individual, that what made him an ethical person was that he kept mitzvot. What made Islam or the Quran seem semi-ethical is that it built. I'm going to mute you because you have background noise. Yeah. What made the Quran ethical, and I do acknowledge that you could be Muslim and an ethical individual, is that it's built off of the ethics in the Torah. If you have three religions essentially that are all morally comparable, and I believe that the Torah is more moral than books, let's say, like the Quran, it behooves you. I mean, assuming that they're all morally comparable, right? Like one's not telling you to unalive people on Tuesday and like mistreat children on Wednesday. It behooves you from that perspective to go with what's older and what claims to be the parent of the other two religions, because it's safer to say that it's less corrupted than what came later. Meaning, because when people have time to refine their text, then they could claim that everything that came before was corrupted. Now, only because you have inconsistencies in your text doesn't mean your text is corrupted. If your text actually was corrupted, you wouldn't have any inconsistencies, because that's a good cleanup job. If Jews were actually trying to tamper with their text, I mean, like our prophets would be sinless. Jews wouldn't be singled out as complainers, right? It shows the Jewish people and the prophets, warts and all. So from that perspective, I would put my money with the older belief system, assuming that they're equally comparable. If for some reason being a Muslim or a Christian makes you a better individual than the Torah, then I would encourage you to go with those religions, by the way. But being that we're talking about ethics and morality, that they all stem from the Torah, you know what you should be following. Drink straight from the well. Don't drink from the cup, right? Or don't drink from the fountain when you could hop into the well. And the ethical well is the Torah. So this is why I think it's better to be Jewish instead of being Christian or Muslim. However, instead of being atheist, I would encourage you to, like, if you don't want to become Jewish, at least become an ethical Christian or an ethical Muslim.
Hey, Rabbi, I got a question for you.
Oh, this guy left. I'm here speaking, like to an empty room.
I got what you said. That's right.
No, not you, but the shot guy left.
Yeah, but I got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why do you have a black guy? Is that a clickbait?
Why do you say like a black guy? What do you say? You say like such a racist.
What am I supposed to say?
That's Pop Smoke, bro. Pop Smoke.
Is that like clickbait?
No,
like,
it's not clickbait, actually. So
He's
before,
just paying homage.
wait. Okay, so before Pop Smoke, I had Ernest Hemingway, and before Ernest Hemingway, wait, hold on. Oh, why? Because he's white.
Like a nice Bukharian rabbi or Lubavitcher or one of those rabbis.
Come on. All right. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, hold on.
I was just staring at me. I was like, he's just sitting there staring.
Yeah, it's like he's staring at me.
No, he's a nice looking guy. What's the big deal? Does it make you nervous? I mean, does it make you hold your purse?
Yeah,
come on, be honest. Huh?
Is there any of those? No. Okay, no matter.
Now, we're gonna lose my audience here. They're gonna block me. Okay, so before Ernest Hemingway, I had John Wayne. I'm a big fan of John Wayne. I'm a huge fan of Ernest Hemingway. Where's the Ernest Hemingway book here?
John Wayne was semi-Jewish.
For Whom the Bell Tolls. Big. Oh, no. All right, this is a farewell to arms. It's better than For Whom the Bell Tolls, by the way. And
hey, another question before I forget.
And I'm a fan of Pop Smoke and other gangster rappers. But go ahead.
I have another question for you. Your parents are not Jewish, right? You said.
Yeah, my parents aren't Jewish.
Okay. So by halakha, I don't know, by halakha or by theory, whatever. That's what I heard. And that's what a lot of these converts say, that if you're a real convert, you don't consider your parents anymore because they're
okay. All right. So they don't say. Okay. I'll tell you what it is. The statement is that according to halakha, I think Maimonides, or I think he takes it by Chazal, they wanted to embellish the idea that a convert is like a newborn baby.
Yes.
So it makes a statement that technically he can marry his mother or his sister. Technically, according to Jewish law, but that doesn't mean that that's no longer his mother. Even Rav Ovadia Yosef said that a convert,
biologically, of course, that's his mother.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I was okay. So Rav Ovadia Yosef says that a convert could even say Kaddish, for his dead mother or dead father, right? Yeah, but the notion of kivud avayim, like of honoring your parents, still applies to your actual mother. Not that there's a court that's going to punish you for not doing it, but in terms of decency, of course, that's your mother. I mean, don't go dating your sister. I mean, just because you converted.
But it's so she technically becomes your father and your mother. Technically, by halacha, not your mother, your father anymore. But you still have to apply all the respect. All that still applies.
Obviously. So it says. I mean, the Rambam says that the reason we wouldn't allow it for like a convert to marry his mother is because it's prohibited from going from a higher state of holiness to a lower state of holiness. So I mean, he's telling you that it's indecent to even think like this. They're just trying to make a legal point. So sometimes people don't know how to take halakha reasonably, and they're saying, "Oh, your mom's not even your mom." There's people who come up here who when they want to insult me, they'll say that I don't consider you Jewish because we believe that you're allowed to speak Lashon Hara on a non-Jew, which is actually not true. Okay, it says in the Chumash. I mean, the word Lashon Hara doesn't appear in the Torah, but the word rechilut appears. So to be a rechel means like don't spread gossip, and it says among amitecha, like your people. But that doesn't mean that you're allowed to speak negatively about anybody else. Only an idiot or someone with a broken moral compass would come to the conclusion, just because the Torah tells you, like, don't speak gossip amongst your people, right? And they're in the desert, only amongst themselves, that means that you're allowed to speak Lashon Hara, Mata Shemra, Rechilut on a Gentile. Only an idiot would come to that conclusion. It's the same type of conclusion that someone who says, well, you can marry your mother because you're a convert, right? The Rambam talks about these people in Moreh Nevuchim, like he talks about people who keep Torah like they're chopping wood. That there's no thought behind it. And like he compares that to people being inside the palace versus people being outside the palace. I mean, some people get it and just some people don't. And then, we're surrounded by dummies. Okay? I mean, that's just an FYI in general, no matter what your situation is. Let's ask what Pop Smoke has to say about it. Oh, well, he passed away, So, I mean, who's saying Kaddish for him?
So, really fast, you guys have no right to say anything about Alabamians keeping it in the family anymore. Just full disclosure.
Mom, did you tell us?
Yeah, well, Courtney's from Alabama, by the way, if that didn't give it away. But Jenny's from Texas, right? I mean, isn't it also...
Yeah. Central Florida, born and mostly raised. I've been in Alabama since I was 12, but yes, I own it.
Yeah, well... I mean, Fort Sumter, and the first shot was fired in Texas, wasn't it?
Okay, may I ask you a question? Because before you answered me with an answer that was not for my question. When we talk about Kabbatnik translation, okay, do you remember? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
And you told me that there is a Chabad translation of the Tanakh. Okay, but my question was about for someone who is converting to Judaism, or even though he has how can I say in English? Every time I feel stressed when I speak in English here because you are native, okay, and I'm not used to speak to native. So
all right, hold on. So we have another Bukharian on the panel, and maybe these guys know each other. But yeah, continue.
Okay. By the way, the Bukharian Ach Shelanu, we gotta talk with him because I love Bukhari dresses, clothes, especially the ones, it's all fault of Rabbi Alevi because he wear the stuff. I'm really into it. Okay. By the way.
You mean the Bukhari kippah, right? I mean,
no, not the kippah, the cloth, the name. I don't know the name. Labush בעברית is labush. אבל איך זה?
Yeah, but that means like dress.
Yeah, the dress. How do you call it? There is like a traditional dress.
Like the Arab coat? You mean like
Kind of it.
I
I'm
don't know.
not sure.
Alon would know. Alon,
Yes,
привет. I mean, tell me about the like this code he's talking about.
the Joma.
ג'ומה, actually, זה לא יפה, I cannot describe it enough because it's beautiful. I wanna buy it.
Wait.
Okay.
Here, ridiculous. Have you ever heard of a Jama?
Have you ever seen that, Rabbi Asher?
Maybe. I mean, I've been to the Shulchan Bukhari, like in Yerushalayim.
Most Bukharians wear it on special occasions. You know, weddings, bris milah, and you know.
Usually the wife, I mean the family of the groom or the bride or the family of who's over bar mitzvah is.
All right. We have a Bukhari wedding. I wish I brought some vodka. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so my question was about how can we deal with learning Torah from parashot? I mean, for someone who doesn't have good prior knowledge, how do you deal with that? Like, which are your suggestion for a person like that, a convert?
Dennis Prager's Rational Bible. Dennis Prager's Rational Bible. It's just weird. You know, Dennis Prager's not Orthodox. He grew up Orthodox, by the way. I haven't read I'm not into midrashic commentaries. So, like, if you read Rashi, there's so many times that people on the show will, like, swear to me that they're quoting the Chumash and they're quoting Rashi. Okay, I'm not anti-Rashi, okay, but, if you're going to quote the Chumash, quote the Chumash. So it's better to expound on what's already there than to bring down a midrash to interpret what's already there. And that's a downside I see with these mystical commentaries. And the Zohar, by the way, was essentially a commentary, a parish to the Chumash. That's why it's broken down by Parshiyot. So I would encourage people to buy Dennis Prager's Rational Bible, just because he's dealing with what's there, with the actual words. Even though, I mean, like, he's not Shomer Shabbat to our standards, it's fine. You know, we appreciate him for his information and his knowledge. Okay. Yeah, only because someone lived 1,000 years ago doesn't mean that he knows Torah more than like a decent person nowadays. Although the Kabbalists do believe in Yeridat Hadarot, which I don't believe, but I hope that helps.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I think you could get it on audiobook also. It seems simple, but I mean, it's like people ask me, like, what book to read, like, if I want to convert. And, like, most converts, they tell them to read that book, To Be a Jew, by, I think, Chaim Donen. And it's just, like, anyone who ever read the book, it's quite disappointing. So I send them to Dennis Prager's 9 Questions People Ask About Judaism, that he wrote with someone who had, I think Joseph Telushkin is an Orthodox rabbi, right? Right? Is he? Joseph Telushkin's Orthodox, right? Well, anyways. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Dennis Prager. Dennis Prager. Now, most people don't know that I was actually one of the founders of Prager University. I used to work with Dennis Prager when I lived in Israel. And I promote a lot of what he teaches. Like, most people also don't know that he actually proselytizes, and he teaches that Jews should proselytize Judaism. So it's not something, that only I do. Anyways.
I have a serious question that I've been ever since I heard, a couple of different Jewish people say this in the lives, kind of throwing nuggets, not explaining it fully. Do Jews believe in reincarnation?
Yes, Jews
That's
believe
a
in
good one.
reincarnation, but it's not in the Torah, though. It's not in the Torah, and it only appears in Kabbalistic literature. It doesn't appear in the Talmud. It doesn't appear in the Jewish Bible, the Torah, Tanakh. It first appears in the Zohar and the works of the Arizal. Yes, it's called Gilgulim Nefashot or Neshamot, whatever. I don't personally believe it. I mean, there's rabbis who didn't believe it. There's a rabbi called Rav Sadagon who says that anyone who believes in reincarnation has adopted a non-Jewish belief. The Rambam never taught on it, so we assume he didn't believe in it either. It first appears after the 13th century. But yes, I would say that the average Jew believes in reincarnation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because actually I've heard, several Jewish people, and then actually a Messianic Jew was in a live saying that it was in the New Testament. And I wish I had written down the scriptures he said that supported that.
Oh, well, reincarnation is different than resurrection of the dead, by the way.
No, he claimed, he said, no, Jews believe in reincarnation, that the Torah, the Tanakh.
Asher,
He said
she's
they-
right. She's right because I know that Messianic Jews teach that.
Okay, so some Messianic Jews believe
What Jews believe?
that Jesus is David, but that Jesus is a
Reincarnation of
supposed to
David.
be right a reincarnation of David. I mean, I've heard that. I'm not saying this is what all Messianic Jews believe. Right? I mean, I don't think anyone knows exactly what Messianic Jews believes because they're like a real mixed bag. But is that what you were talking about?
No.
Or
When they
Courtney?
were asking according to the Gospels, the New Testament, the Jewish leaders were asking Jesus if he was the reincarnation of Elijah. So that that did start making me wonder.
Yeah, well, it doesn't use the word reincarnation, but yes, I mean, but they did ask not Jesus, but they asked John. Like
John. Oh, they asked Jesus if John was the reincarnation.
No, but they asked John if John was the reincarnation. I mean, when
Okay,
he was.
I thought they asked both,
but that's interesting.
He said no. He said no, didn't he?
Right? No, he said no. He said no.
Hey, Rabbi, I'm gonna keep shopping around from different lives. I'll see you on the way back.
Yeah, but you didn't talk to the Bukharian guy here. I mean, you guys are probably related.
Where is he?
I mean, he's on YouTube.
I'm here. Oh, we spoke several times before, I remember.
He's on YouTube?
Yeah, he's on YouTube. Yeah, but he's in Brooklyn. Right, you're in Brooklyn, right? How long?
No, I'm in Queens.
Oh, whatever, Queens. You know.
Alan, how old are you, Alan?
Going to be 49.
Oh, shit. Really?
Why?
Huh?
Женатый?
Yeah, because you told for him.
Of course.
Сколько детей?
4.
Сколько?
4.
О, тоже у меня. Молодец. Молодец. Внуки есть?
Не, еще нет. No, we can't speak in Russian. They can't understand.
Что такое, товарищ?
Yeah, I mean, I got kids in college.
Huh?
I got kids in college already.
That must be expensive.
Everything is expensive. It's New York City, baby.
Подожди, which part of Queens you at?
I'm in Fresh Meadows.
My daughter lives in. Where does she live?
We're making a shit up.
It's New Jamaica State. Hollis, I think it is.
Oh, right. It's right by me. Yeah.
Yeah, right over there in that area. It's the new
Like
thing.
It's a new up and coming. I see. Yeah, it's like the 200 streets.
Yeah, I started my life in Kew Gardens. I still have my house there.
Oh, I know Kew
Nice.
Gardens. I know Kew Gardens. I know it pretty well. You know, like Annie's Kosher Kitchen, like
Oh, that's
Union
Kew Gardens.
Turnpike.
Union Turnpike. Oh my God, that's right by me, Asha.
Oh,
Wow.
really?
Yeah,
All
like
right.
a block away.
You know Ellie Rowe? You know Ellie
Annie's
Rowe?
Kitchen, didn't they close already?
Who?
Annie's
Oh,
Kitchen was bought by Bukharians.
Yeah, I know Rabbi Steinberg.
Right.
Pesach Steinberg, Young Israel of Queens.
Reggie, the island, were you on 47th Street back in the day?
No. I used to work there, meaning like as a diamond setter back in the early 90s. But,
You're a diamond setter?
during college and high school,
Oh, I'm a big fan of all the TikTok guys there on 47th Street, like Moses the jeweler. And
Oh, God.
I follow.
Yeah, that's the new generation.
Trax is a good friend of mine. You know Trax, right?
Yeah, Trax is from the Adam Sandler movie.
Yes. My Adam Sandler in this Adam Sandler movie, my niece's son is his son in the movie.
Wow, you guys are like real Jews.
Yeah.
Hollywood Jews.
We're all coming to Florida, man, for Passover. New Yorkers.
That's true. The Eden Rock. That's what's
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm a big fan of what's the guy? The guy who rose with Buckley.
Buckley. Oh, what's his name? The young kid.
Yeah, Vukum.
The guy with the bulging eyes.
Yeah, Vukum. Yeah, but he's not Jewish. Vukum's Buckley's not Jewish.
He's not Jewish. Yeah, I know he's not.
Yeah,
and also
he
Vukum,
looks-
and the old man is not Jewish either.
Yeah, he's not Jewish. But the other guys with the ponytail, that guy Moses the jeweler.
Moses is Bukharian.
Oh, really? Oh, he looks raw. Like the Moroccan girl, like with the French Moroccan girl.
Also, by the way, the Watch King. Do you watch? Do you get the TikToks? The guy with the beard and the ponytail.
Yeah. I mean, Like, they're
Oh
all
my God,
friends.
you should watch. Do you know that he comes from a very religious family? His father is a very big known Bukharian rabbi in the community. And they just had a sit down, like a podcast, talking about their life and everything. Him and his twin
Leslie, who are
are
you talking about?
about the Watch King.
Yeah, what's his name? What's his name?
I forgot his name. Moshe. He's also.
Yeah, I
his
think
name
it's
is
Moshe also. Yeah,
Yeah, he
I mean, he
lives
has a
2
beard.
blocks
He's
from
a
me.
dark skin with like a.
His father is a huge rabbi here
What's his
in
father's
Queens.
name, you know?
What's that?
What's his father's name?
Chaim, Rabbi, Jesus Christ, Igal Chaimov.
Oh, you kidding me? No,
That's his father. Everybody's shocked. Yeah, that's his father.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Well, you know, Igal Chaimov's family are very big. You know, his father.
Yes, exactly. And you know what? The Watch King, by the way, Rabbi Asher, he used to be like a Talmud Torah in Israel.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, he sent him there to learn all day, every day, and
Yeah, he curses a lot.
Not only curses, he talks about cheeseburgers and what have you.
Yeah, I remember that controversy with his son. I remember it now.
Yeah, there's a podcast there where they just sit there and just bash it out.
There was a whole thing with his son. Yeah, I remember that whole thing. It was back like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Right. So now it's all public. It's very interesting.
You see, when Jews meet other Jews, they all know someone in common. It's called Jewish geography.
Not Jews, Bukharsky Jews.
Oh, well, that's different. You guys are all fans of Rabbi Mizrahi.
Nah, not really. I'll be honest with you. Ever since he started making these outrageous claims.
Okay, guys, let's not out.
All right. Oh, Lashon
Yeah.
Hara. This is a Lashon Hara free zone. Anyways, I get it.
You can talk Lashon Hara about Goyim, but not.
I mean, you know what? It's not even Lashon Hara because the big rabbi in Israel, what's his name? The Yemenite one.
Oh, Armon Yitzhak.
Amnon Yitzchak. Yeah, he says it's an obligation to talk when he started speaking bad about other rabbis.
Oh, yeah, but he does it all the time. By the way, I mean he started it. Rabbi Mizrahi got it from him.
Right. But he claims that it's not Lashon Hara. It's pretty much it says it in the Torah. He says you must bring it out. You must bring it to light.
No, they say it's called like Lashon Hara, but letoelet. So letoelet means you're doing it for but then you could say that about anything. It's like you need just cause.
Yeah, it all depends who you talk to. You can't say these things. I mean, just out of because you think that way.
All right, I don't know about the rules of Lashon Hara. I mean, I know about them, but I think a lot of them are silly.
Do you see the podcast with two Bukharian?
This rabbi is marrying guys with Jews without any conversion. Yes, you have to bring it out in public, or that his kashrut is not good. You have to bring it out in public. Yes, but that he, I don't know, he likes, I don't know.
Rabbi Asher, quick question: when Tesla gets their self-driving thing going, right? And it's all programmed. Is it okay if we drive if it drives us to synagogue on Shabbos?
I mean,
it's the same.
It's just like a Shabbos elevator, right?
Bike. Well, you can't ride a bike.
Why?
You can't ride a bike.
No, but why? I mean, tell me why.
Well, my rabbi says because in theory, if it breaks, if the chain breaks, you have to. I mean, in theory, you're gonna fix it on Shabbat. Yeah, you're not gonna do it, of course, today. But
so I'll tell you. I mean, being that they didn't have bikes in the time of the Talmud, but the Ben Ish Chai, I mean, actually says you could ride a bike in Shabbos.
And they say that they didn't have electricity in time of Talmud.
No, right, we're talking about bikes here now. I mean, first of all, bikes. Okay, like not that I need this as a heter, but the Ben Ish Chai says you could ride a bike on Shabbos. This is a popular thing. You guys can look it up. But yes, the average rabbi will say, like, it's a problem in case the chain falls off. So get a bike that doesn't have a chain. I mean, as a matter of fact, it's a big thing in my neighborhood. Everyone's on scooters now. Like not electric.
Yes, so you can ride a scooter or a skateboard.
Yeah, but what's the difference? If you have a chain that doesn't fall off, let's say, all right, then what's it? Or if it does fall off, just leave it. So okay, the bike is another thing. like he's saying a self-driving car on Shabbos. What's the actual issue? I mean, because sure, like I mean, some people allow the Shabbos elevator. In Miami Beach,
You gotta open the door. That's electricity. It's all electrical.
yeah, but okay. So if it opens itself, let's say that you didn't, like you're not touching anything.
Well, you're putting pressure, weight, I guess.
Come on, man. I mean, you're acting like you're like Hasidic now.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that was the case. I mean, I'm for it.
Yeah,
I'm just saying what the rabbis are gonna say.
Right, you're being so. I don't know what the rabbis
It's like
mean.
taking a bus. Can you take a bus on Shabbat if you're not paying for it? They say no because you're putting pressure.
No, it's just like that movie with Bill Mayhem or something like that. Religiousness or religiousness. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right.
Bill Maher.
Bill Maher, where he says, what are we trying to do here? Outsmart God? Like, really? They created a wheelchair with air pressure on it that a disabled guy can, drive it on Shabbos, and like, what are we really trying to do here? And then there's the Shabbos light switch, and
all right. I mean, it's
are
really
we trying to
left
find
up-
loopholes and
Well,
stuff?
'cause God didn't say that you can't work on Shabbos. I mean, like he didn't say that you can't do avodah. He said you can't do melacha. So melacha, it's up to for the rabbis to define what that actually means. So there's 39 supposed categories of like of melachot with avot and toldot, like subcategories. The question is, if it's not there, is it technically allowed? Right? For sure, bicycles aren't there, but they'll tie it to some principle. And this is why you need rabbis to at least discuss it. This notion that everyone is on the same page is not true. I know that the average religious person is a coward and sort of just goes by like the loudest rabbi, but there are many rabbis who disagree on many things. And they mostly live in Israel, by the way. It seems in Israel, when people aren't getting paid, they're more likely to speak their mind. In America, like people want to be invited to the weddings and the simchas, so everyone sort of toes the line. Okay, in Israel, in Israel, there's guys like who have multiple wives, right? I mean, I'm not talking about just like the Eliezer Berlins and Beit Shemesh, right? They do it. Israel is like a colorful tapestry of Jews living together, Bukharians praying with Ashkenazim and Ashkenazim, praying with Satmar, and it works for some crazy reason.
When did it become unlawful or, against Jewish law or tradition not to have more than one wife? Because, the early patriarchs did.
Here we go. Why does it always boil down to
Oh,
this? All right, guys, that's it. Like the viewership is gonna go up now. But on top of that, like the show, guys. So they're gonna put me in the spot. I mean, they might as well, give me a big audience. According to Judaism, you're allowed to have more than one wife. According to Judaism, you're allowed to have 4 wives, even today. The truth is, nobody does it. Okay, not nobody, but you know what I mean. Like it's not normal.
Officially.
Right. Officially.
Wasn't it abolished by?
So by Ashkenazim, there was someone named Rabbeinu Gershom who made a prohibition for 1,000 years, which expired, by the way. And even during the prohibition, they had something called it's called Heter Me'er Rabbanim, that like if 100 rabbis allowed you to do it, that you were allowed to do it. From a Torah perspective, sometimes God wants you to take an extra wife. And we have a procedure called yibum. So yibum is when a man's brother dies while he's married and doesn't have a child with his wife. God tells us in the Torah that it's preferable for the man to marry his widow and have children in his behalf, even though he's married. There's a process called chalitza that in case you really don't want to do it, she's Rosie O'Donnell, there's a way out of it, but it seemed as dishonoring your brother's memory. So this idea that it's against the spirit of Torah and God is nonsense. I think the world would probably run a little better if men were able to have more than one wives. The notion that there's old maids nowadays that you still have to pay for, with your taxes, and they're living off the government, and then you just find them in singles bars. I don't think it makes the world any better. If you have one guy, and I don't even think it's like a perverted pursuit, because it's hard enough being married to one wife. Imagine being married to 4 wives. It's I guess like Mesiras Nefesh. Like it's such a sacrifice of the person to take, assuming he's providing for them. I mean, I'm not saying, like you're married to 4 CEOs and you just ride ATVs all day, right? If the guy's providing for the women and treating them and not showing any favoritism amongst them, I think it could work for some men. I don't think all men want this, But some men have a big appetite. It's better for them to do that than just to be sleeping around with whoever. Yeah, there you go, guys.
Yeah, also because I checked out what Rambam says about it, and yeah, what basically the halacha is, and it's a big duty, by the way, for the husband, because if you know how an Orthodox Jew behaves usually, when it comes to sexual relationships with his wife, okay, especially the ones who studies, they usually have 2 times a week relationship with their wives, but because you have 4. Now you gotta be equal to each one, and you gotta provide the single house for each one of them, and you gotta stay. So when one has the period, you gotta stay with the other one. It's just a big mess. So
Look, the Bukhari guy checked out. He was like, like he hopped in his. Well, the other Bukhari guy took off. He's like, I'm gonna fulfill this mitzvah now.
No, it's not that easy. Actually, it's really you are gonna put on yourself other mitzvot. Okay, so I think it's easier to stay with one. That's the reason why we all do it like
You
that.
don't sound convincing, sir.
I think if it was okay for the patriarchs to do it. I've never seen anything, even in the New Testament, that says anything. Well, you can't have. When did they make this law or this tradition that you can't have more than one wife? And even in the New Testament,
You gotta look up at the Romans and the Greeks. They didn't have. The Greeks consider their wives just a way to make lives in this world, but they would consider women like nothing in the Greek world. If you check out that period in history, Greeks had a lot of problems for that reason, because they were really busy with everything. They would consider like the main thing, like the most important thing, or the most preferable thing to do is homosexual relationships as the most, how can I say, help me out, Asher, my English is not
I
doing
don't
well.
want to get banned.
No, I know, but this is actually history, okay? This is the reason why Christianity then adopt the costume of one wife
The
only.
verse that appears in the New Testament that Jesus breaks down that God made, that a man should leave his wife and he lays down the ideal. No, I think the Torah talks about this, that a man should leave his mother and father and be united with his wife and become
Yeah, he
one.
quotes Genesis.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily mean that he can't do that like a few different times. But yeah, I don't think there's an actual law that at least in the New Testament where Christians.
Some of the Christians I have heard, they quote Adam and Eve as an example for having just one, but that is not actual a commandment. There is no place in the Bible considering like the Tanakh, the commandment or the expression of God's will not to have more than one wife. Instead, we have example that prove the opposite that you were just saying before. Like if I have a brother and he died without any children, I gotta provide for that. Yeah.
What do you think, Jenny? You sold on it or what?
I'm not necessarily sold on it, but in concept, I don't see anything wrong with it.
All right. Well, Felipe is a single man, by the way, and I'm all into like your matchmaking. Wait, you're single, right, Felipe?
Yes, and I'm up for it if you get me a green card, by the way.
Okay, you wanna make him in trouble more than he already is.
Felipe is in Brazil, by the way.
Brasileiro.
Yeah, Brazil. Pão com queijo, brigadeiro.
Yeah, a chega da Panema.
Legal. Anyway.
Garota de Ipanema.
What? You got more Brazilians now? Huh?
No, the song, like he said.
Yeah, I said, I quoted a song because I'm a musician. So I study bossa nova, that is basically jazz, in Brazilian jazz. So I know a lot of tunes in Portuguese for that reason.
They're called bossa nova, right?
Yeah, bossa nova, exactly. There is a song that they translated even in English, "The Girl from Ipanema," that is sung by Frank Sinatra, one of the most famous versions.
All right.
So, Rabbi, by the way, you quote already a Karaite rabbi that said the ideal situation it would be to be married with two lesbians. I mean, it would be allowed to have relations with two at the same time. I know that the Rambam say that the woman is allowed for the men, like all of it, like all of kind of sex. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Even no shame.
Hold
What?
on. Wait.
No,
I mean, who?
the Rambam said so.
No. I'm not saying anything against you. I said no shame because the way you exposed the question.
No, this is how Jews talk. It's called chutzpah. They have audacity. Wait. Like, who was I talking to before? Was it David or was it Felipe?
What?
About what?
Like, who's in Brazil?
Yeah,
Felipe.
Me.
And David is in Israel, right?
No, I am not. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I cannot tell where I am, but we can talk in private. I would like to talk with you in private, but you don't let me. You are a busy guy.
I don't talk to people on the phone, especially men. Okay. I'm inviting my friend Hasmonius up. I mean, Hasmonius has a lot of energy. He has a live with a lot of people, and it takes a lot of patience to do what he does. I think he's an intelligent guy, and he probably doesn't have the energy after hosting a live for so many hours to come up here and talk to me. Anyways, that being said, okay, guys, it's Shabbos in like 30 minutes, and
have a good Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Shalom u'mevorach.
All right, guys. Jenny, thank you for stopping by. One with the Bugatti.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Yeah, Henry.
Musa Rasulullah.
Alhamdulillah.
All right. Shalom, guys. Thank you for stopping by.
Good Shabbos.
Thank you. Bye. I appreciate you answering my questions.
No problem. Anytime.